Chapter 1759. Unlin had single-handedly prevented the escape of 3 renowned super-mighty figures. No one would believe this if they were to tell others about it. Even Lu Qianhuan and Lu Mingxian felt that this was inconceivable. A single person had single-handedly prevented the escape of 3 Supreme Tao integration stage super-mighty figures. Was this really something that a human could do? How is this possible? How long has it been? How did he suddenly become so powerful? A look of despair appeared on the god-engulfing skeleton's face. It felt as if it had no chance of survival. Right now, Unlin was completely thrashing the other 3 super-mighty figures. Once he was done with the 3 Tao integration stage super-mighty figures, he would definitely come and take care of it. What should I do? What should I do? As death enveloped its entire body, fear and remorse finally welled up in its heart. Why had it been tempted to kill Su Xiaolan's parents in the first place? It was filled with hatred. If it hadn't killed Su Xiaolan's parents, this calamity wouldn't have happened. A cold glint appeared in Lu Qianhuan's eyes when she saw the expression on the god-engulfing skeleton's face. She stabbed her great ice sword into the god-engulfing skeleton's body, causing it to wail in agony. Lu Mingxian also stabbed the god-engulfing skeleton. Since the situation was already clear, it was time for them to deal the heaviest blow to their enemy. After all, the god-engulfing skeleton had almost killed them. They weren't merciful bodhisattvas. Why wouldn't they do it if they could beat the dog when it was down? They felt quite good about doing this kind of thing. The god-engulfing skeleton wailed in agony. The other 3 Tao integration stage super-mighty figures weren't having a good time either. Unlin's divine sense had already defied the natural order, and he was frantically suppressing the Soul Light Martial Emperor. Soul Power Golden Sword. Unlin wielded a golden longsword and pierced through the Soul Light Martial Emperor's defenses at an extremely strange angle. Then, he stabbed his golden sword into the Soul Light Martial Emperor's chest. A wail of anguish sounded. However, Unlin didn't stop there. Countless pitch-black soul dragons surged out of his body and pounced toward the Soul Light Martial Emperor. This was the Azure Dragon Holy Beast's most powerful soul skill, Shadow Soul Dragon. The Soul Light Martial Emperor's body was like the most delicious food, and the Soul Light Martial Emperor became even more excited. The Soul Light Martial Emperor did its utmost to defend itself. However, there were always some who managed to slip through the cracks, and they tore its spiritual body into pieces. In addition, the sacred flame of the Great Sun, which could burn one's soul for eternity, filled the void. If it was not careful, it would climb and spread across its body. It wasn't easy for Unlin to find an opening to counterattack, and the Divine Soul condensed a black tortoise soul armor to block all of its counterattacks without exception. Despair. The despair of not being able to see the possibility of victory. The Soul Light Martial Emperor had been thoroughly defeated by Unlin in the aspect that it was most proud of. In fact, it was considered relatively good. At least it had the dignity to resist. Ember was the most uncomfortable. This was because it was repeating the god-engulfing skeleton's history. What was the history of the god-engulfing skeleton? That was to be pressed against the ground by Unlin, rubbed on the ground and ravaged inhumanely. In his Fire Sage mode, Unlin's battle prowess was off the charts. Each of his punches contained the power to shatter mountains and shatter the earth. As he punched left and right, Ember's entire body was nearly pulverized. Right now, the demonic Frost Star was the least injured. This was because Unlin hadn't paid any attention to it. However, it could already see its dismal and incomparably dark future. Run. I really want to run. However, if I do that, it's very likely that I'll be the one pressed against the ground in the next instant. What if I don't run? Will Unlin let it go after he's finished dealing with those 2 Tao integration pinnacle stage beings? Should it wait for the future to change, or should it risk its life and flee now? This was an extremely difficult choice. Perhaps, after a while, other Tao integration stage super mighty figures would be attracted here by the commotion caused by the battle here? One had to realize that the Void Spirit tribe had a total of 18 Tao integration stage super mighty figures. At least 13 of them had entered the spirit realm. However, only 4 of them had appeared here. Including the recently deceased Infernal Abyss Emperor, there were only 5 of them. If a few more Tao integration stage super mighty figures were to come, would Lin be able to take on all of them on his own? Alright. Regardless of whether or not Lin would be able to take on all of them, the demonic Frost Star's chances of survival would increase significantly. The demonic Frost Star instantly analyzed the pros and cons of all of its options before deciding to stand obediently on the spot. It wasn't because it didn't have the courage. Rather, this was the most beneficial option. That's right, it had made its decision. It was going to wait for reinforcements. Meanwhile, in the sky above the spirit realm, 3 streaks of light, 1 black, 1 white, and 1 azure, flew through the sky at high speed. They were none other than White Spirit Snake, Black Spirit Snake, and Su Xiaolan. The 3 Tao integration stage super mighty figures had already met up, and they were currently searching for the place where the battle in the spirit realm was the most intense. The battling Buddha had told them that the place where the battle was the most intense was where they would meet up. The battling Buddha didn't appear. Instead, the violent Black Spirit Snake attracted White Spirit Snake and Su Xiaolan's attention through her battle. They began to fly around the spirit realm at high speed, searching for the place where the battle was taking place. I've detected a few extremely powerful auras in that direction. White Spirit Snake suddenly raised her brows and pointed in a certain direction. Su Xiaolan and Black Spirit Snake immediately flew toward that direction. They had witnessed for themselves just how freakish White Spirit Snake's senses were. Even from hundreds of thousands of kilometers away, she was still able to detect the auras of powerful beings. Black Spirit Snake and Su Xiaolan couldn't help but be impressed by this. Can you identify those auras? Black Spirit Snake asked. White Spirit Snake replied with a grave expression. There are 3 Tao integration pinnacle stage and 2 Tao integration intermediate stage. Among them, the 3 Tao integration pinnacle stage and 1 Tao integration intermediate stage are all Void Spirit tribe mighty figures. Black Spirit Snake was given a fright. That's half of the Void Spirit tribe's most powerful beings. Why are we still going there? Are we looking for trouble? I can also sense Senior Lin's aura over there. White Spirit Snake replied. Black Spirit Snake. Su Xiaolan took a deep breath. Looks like we have to hurry. I hope Senior Lin is alright. A concerned expression appeared on White Spirit Snake's face. Tao integration pinnacle stage beings aren't just anyone. There are 3 of them, and there's also a Tao integration intermediate stage super mighty figure. I hope Lin will be able to hold on. Black Spirit Snake didn't offer any depressing words. She was still very concerned about Lin in this life and death situation. He's still fighting, which means that he's still resisting. Su Xiaolan clenched her fist. Hurry up. We have to hurry up. Senior Lin, wait for me. White Spirit Snake let loose a clear cry. I'm coming to save you. Boom. At this moment, all 3 of them had unleashed their buff spell technique. However, when they arrived at the battlefield, they were all dumbstruck by the scenes unfolding before their eyes. Could it be that they had arrived at the wrong place? Why was the situation different from what they had imagined? In their imaginations, Lin should have been forced into a corner by a group of Void Spirit tribe super mighty figures, and he should have been resisting with his life on the line. However, the situation before their eyes had completely overturned their imaginations. The God-engulfing skeleton was firmly sealed by the Xian Wu heaven-sealing shell and Xiao Fu. Meanwhile, Lu Qianhuan and Lu Mingxian were frantically thrashing it as it wailed in agony. A semi-transparent blue Lin was wreaking havoc on the Soul Light Martial Emperor, beating him to the point that he was beyond recognition. A physical Lin pressed Ember against the ground and rained down punch after punch. Ember exploded, then reformed, then exploded again. His opponent was beaten to the point where he was beginning to doubt his own life. The demonic frost star, which had a diameter of 300 kilometers, was trembling in fear. There was an expression of despair on its face, as if it was waiting for death. All of the Void Spirit Tribe's super mighty figures have been beaten to the ground by Senior Lin? White Spirit Snake's beautiful eyes widened with incredulity. This brat. When did his combat prowess increase explosively again? Black Spirit Snake was also astonished. Su Xiaolan's eyes curved into crescents as she smiled. It's good that Lin is fine. He's beating up several top-tier Void Spirit Tribe super mighty figures at the same time. Our Lin is so awesome. At the same time, the demonic frost star had become the most despairing of the entire battlefield. It had initially wanted to wait for reinforcements from the Void Spirit Tribe. However, in the end, 3 Dao integration stage super mighty figures had arrived on Lin's side. Chapter 1760. An expression of pleasant surprise appeared on Lin's face when he finally arrived. Xiaolan, you've come at just the right time. Look, I've pinned down the god-engulfing skeleton and Ember for you to exact your revenge. Su Xiaolan nodded with a smile. I thought there would be an intense battle, but who would have thought that my 2 enemies would already be lying on the ground like dead dogs? She unsheathed her dragon sparrow sword and landed gracefully in front of Ember. Ember's body was charred black, and its spirit body was in tatters. Its limbs were missing, and it was in an extremely sorry state. The divine sword, which was imbued with holy flames and lightning, was placed against Ember's neck. The woman's voice rang out at this moment. Ember, you are the murderer who killed my parents, Su Guanyun and Zhu Yishuang. Today, in the name of their daughter, I will take revenge on you. Ember faltered slightly before his body trembled violently. So that's how it is. No wonder Lin didn't kill me even when he had the chance to. He wanted you to do it yourself, hee. Who would have thought that Su Guanyun and Zhu Yishuang would have such a good daughter? Ember gazed at the woman before it. The 2 divine Daos were as profound as the ocean. It knew that if it were to fight against Su Xiaolan would most likely still emerge victorious. Su Xiaolan said indifferently, Go confess your sins to my parents. Her dragon sparrow sword was about to descend upon Ember as she spoke. Wait! Lin suddenly stopped her. Although her enemies were right in front of her and Su Xiaolan's killing intent was extremely strong, she still stopped in her tracks upon hearing Lin's words. She looked at Lin with a perplexed expression. What is it? A glimmer of hope welled up in Ember's heart. Dying like this is too easy on it. I still have a very good torture method that will allow it to receive a very good punishment, Lin said. Ember almost cursed out loud upon hearing this. Wasn't capturing it and torturing it earlier a form of torture? Su Xiaolan's eyes lit up upon hearing this, and she nodded lightly. How do you want to torture it? Do you still remember my experience as a blade of grass? Lin asked. Of course I remember. Su Xiaolan furrowed her brows and a pained expression appeared on her face. Just thinking about this experience made him feel sorry for Lin. Now I can let Ember experience that kind of pain, and I can let her experience it 100%. Lin said, I've grasped the great perfection of the heavenly ghost palm. My palm art contains the most powerful force of Yin, which can ignore the defense of the opponent's soul and launch the full damage force of the ultimate evil force. Su Xiaolan's eyes lit up with anticipation. All right, I'll leave it to you. I also think it'd be too easy for it to die like this. You? What are you going to do to me? My sense of pain has already subsided. Don't even think about torturing me in any way. Ember had a bad premonition. Really? Lin chuckled. His palm suddenly turned pitch black as he ruthlessly slapped Ember's forehead. Heavenly ghost palm. Bang. A dark substance suddenly flowed into Ember's body. Ember's eyes suddenly widened. Then, it started to convulse. Ah! Ah! Ember, who had just said that its sense of pain had subsided, suddenly let loose an extremely shrill cry. This cry was 100 times more painful than when Enlin had tortured it. The god-engulfing skeleton, the demonic frost star, and all the other enemies felt a chill run down their spines. Was Enlin a demon? What kind of pain could make Ember cry like this? Even Su Xiaolan was dumbstruck. She didn't think that this spell technique would be able to inflict such immense pain on her opponent. Just listening to those blood-curdling cries was enough to make one feel pain. But it was so satisfying. Please, please kill me. Ah! Tears streamed down Ember's face as it howled in agony and begged Su Xiaolan to give it an end. Su Xiaolan remained indifferent, but she was extremely elated. Her enemy's pain was her own happiness. She had already imagined avenging her parents many times, but it had never been as satisfying as this one. Her enemy was actually being tortured to the point of begging her to kill it. One had to realize that this was a supreme being at the Tao integration pinnacle stage. Just how terrifying was the pain it was enduring. Su Xiaolan looked up at the sky and murmured, "Father, Mother, do you see this? My former enemy is lying on the ground, begging me to kill it. Kill me. Please kill me. I know I was wrong. Give me a quick death." Ember's body trembled and convulsed. Its body rotted and healed again. Pain that contained the greatest sin in the world crazily buffed its body, giving it a perfect taste of true pain. Enlin and Su Xiaolan completely ignored Ember's pleas. Ember's eyes suddenly rolled back, and its mouth opened to an exaggerated extent. Its spirit body started to crack, and its aura became extremely weak. What's wrong? Su Xiaolan was slightly taken aback. Enlin said anxiously, "Hurry! Xiaolan, hurry up and kill it. Otherwise, it's going to die from the pain." Su Xiaolan. The dragon sparrow sword rang, and the sword fell, reaping the life of this mighty being at the Tao integration pinnacle stage. Heaven and earth mourned the death of a mighty being at the Tao integration pinnacle stage. Phew! Su Xiaolan heaved a sigh of relief. Then, she turned her gaze toward the god-engulfing skeleton, who was sealed within the Karma Star Protection Formation. The god-engulfing skeleton shuddered, and it looked toward Lu Qianhuan and Lu Mingxian. Can you please kill me?" Lu Qianhuan chuckled coldly. Hee. Lu Mingxian didn't say anything. Instead, he silently added another restriction to the god-engulfing skeleton. Soon, the god-engulfing skeleton's anguished wails reverberated throughout the battlefield. This was the first time Enlin had used his perfected heavenly ghost palm, and its effects were much more terrifying than he had imagined. The god-engulfing skeleton was a living being that was reduced to mere bones, and it was crying like a baby. No, it was even more pitiful than a baby. It was as if there was nothing in this world that was more pitiful than it. This pain made it regret being born into this world. Why did Mommy have to give birth to me and subject me to such horrifying pain? Just as it was about to die from the pain, Su Xiaolan raised her sword and ended the god-engulfing skeleton's life. A sorrowful cry that covered an extremely large area once again rang out in the world. The woman in the jade dress sheathed her sword and looked up at the phenomenon in the sky. There was no sorrow in her eyes. Instead, there was a sense of relief and clarity in her Tao heart. "Father, Mother, I've avenged you," a thought seemed to have occurred to Su Xiaolan, and she held on to Enlin's hand as she looked up into the sky. "Of course, this is all thanks to Enlin's help. I'll be going with him from now on." A faint blush appeared on the woman's exquisite features as she spoke. Enlin was caught off guard by her words, but he quickly smiled and waved toward the sky. "Don't worry, Father, Mother, I'll definitely take good care of Xiaolan." Chapter 1761. As the two of them spoke to the sky, tears of grief and indignation flowed down from the sky. Two super mighty beings at the Tao integration pinnacle stage had died. Heaven and earth had mourned twice, and everyone was grieving together. Yet, they were still showing off their love? I'm so envious of their relationship. A hint of yearning appeared in Lu Qianhuan's purple eyes as she looked at the two of them speaking to the sky. Huan, please put away your bold thoughts. Lu Mingxian sighed. Lu Qianhuan pouted. I didn't say that I liked him. I only loved the way of the sword. I can be single for the rest of my life. Are men as fun as games? Lu Mingxian looked at his daughter's beautiful profile. He wanted to say something, but he hesitated. In the end, he sighed in resignation. As he looked at Enlin, he felt as if he was looking at his past self. He was as dazzling as the sun, and countless outstanding female cultivators admired him. Back then, he only loved the way of the sword and Qiu Hong. As a result, he naturally let down countless beauties and admirers. Enlin was even better than him. He was more outstanding, and he was even more stunning. However, at the same time, the female cultivators who liked Enlin were even more outstanding. Even his daughter had fallen for him. If Enlin was too single-minded and let down others, then others would probably fall for him the moment they met Enlin. If this didn't involve Lu Qianhuan, Lu Mingxian would definitely praise Enlin for doing a good job. However, sigh. What a sin. Lu Mingxian felt a headache coming on. With my soul, I offer my speed. The Soul Light Martial Emperor was terrified by the god-engulfing skeleton and ember. It immediately ignited its own consciousness and sliced off half of its body to use as fuel as it frantically fled into the distance. It was the only super mighty being on the battlefield who hadn't been crushed to the ground by Enlin. Instead, it had bitterly endured. At this moment, it used its final trump card to flee into the distance. The divine sense Enlin sliced the Soul Light Martial Emperor in half with a single sword strike. However, the two halves of its body continued to flee into the distance. Enlin slashed out over 100 times at lightning speed. However, the Soul Light Martial Emperor didn't dodge at all. It focused all of its energy on speed. Even though its body was sliced into over 100 pieces, it still continued to flee. Damn it, for the sake of escaping, you don't want your life anymore? Enlin realized that the other party was using his own life and cultivation as fuel to escape. This kind of escape method allowed the Soul Light Martial Emperor to obtain unparalleled speed. However, the side effects were that the Soul Light Martial Emperor's cultivation would fall in the future. Moreover, the Soul Light Martial Emperor's life force would also be greatly depleted. If the Soul Light Martial Emperor used this method excessively, he might even lose his life before he could escape. The Soul Light Martial Emperor had used an extreme method to finally escape from Enlin's demonic clutches. Damn, it's too scary, really too scary. The Soul Light Martial Emperor shuddered at the thought of Ember and the god-engulfing skeleton's misfortune. It didn't even look back as it fled into the distance. Enlin's expression was one of regret. The Soul Light Martial Emperor was simply too fast. He couldn't catch up to it. If he paid a price, he could forcefully catch up, but that was not good for his soul. It was not worth it to do so for a piece of trash. The two Enlins merged back into one. Enlin, what technique is that? How are you able to split into two? Su Xiaolan asked curiously. Furthermore, both of them are so powerful. Enlin replied smugly, it's because my divine sense is badass. Su Xiaolan. That's not the explanation I want. At this moment, Black Spirit Snake and White Spirit Snake flew over with a planet emanating frosty energy in their hand. Senior Enlin, how should we deal with this planet? White Spirit Snake asked. Do you want to unleash a heavenly ghost palm? There was a hint of excitement in Black Spirit Snake's eyes. The demonic frost star was on the verge of tears upon hearing this. Just kill me. It didn't want to live anymore. All it wanted was a comfortable death. Enlin stroked his chin. He was intrigued as he mulled over how he should deal with this massive planet. Logically speaking, there wasn't any deep hatred between him and the demonic frost star. Using a perfected heavenly ghost palm to deal with this small planet monster was a bit too much. The demonic frost star sensed that Enlin's killing intent toward it wasn't very strong. Sect leader Enlin, if you spare my life, I'm willing to divulge a crucial piece of information to you, it said hurriedly. Enlin's heart jolted. Oh? Tell me what information it is. If it's valuable enough, I can consider sparing your life. You'll definitely be interested, the demonic frost star said smugly. This time, the spirit realm has opened to the core region. I know the location of the Spirit Patriarch Palace. Everyone's expression changed drastically upon hearing this. Spirit Patriarch Palace? Could it be the place where the Spirit Patriarch perished? Black Spirit Snake's eyes burned with excitement. Doesn't that mean the Spirit Patriarch's inheritance is inside? Su Xiaolan was also tempted. The demonic frost star was finally more confident upon seeing everyone's interest. That's right. It's the Spirit Patriarch's tomb. I only learned of its location after receiving a message from my subordinate. I originally wanted to head there directly with Ember and the Soul Light Martial Emperor. Who would have thought the entire Void Spirit tribe would go crazy for an inheritance inside? Do you guys want it? As long as you agree to let me go, I can lead the way for you. Everyone's breathing quickened. It was clear that they were extremely eager to obtain the inheritance. This was the Spirit Patriarch's inheritance, a God of Creation stage inheritance. Who wouldn't want it? Enlin's expression became strange. He silently took out an intricate palm-sized palace. This is the Spirit Patriarch Palace you're talking about, right? The air instantly fell silent. Everyone fell into a strange silence. Enlin tossed the palace in his palm into the sky. The exquisite palace expanded with a loud boom, extending endlessly. Then, it transformed into a colossus that lay dormant on the ground, causing the ground to cave in. An ancient and desolate aura emanating from it made everyone present sense that it was extraordinary. White Spirit Snake, Su Xiaolan, Lu Mingxian, and the others all widened their eyes in shock. It was as if they had seen something incomprehensible. They stared dumbfoundedly at the scene before them. The demonic frost star's body trembled violently. The volcanoes on the surface of its body directly exploded in fright. No. How is this possible? How could this be true? You refined the Spirit Patriarch Palace? Enlin nodded. How else do you think I obtained such a powerful consciousness? Everyone came to a sudden realization. That's right. That explains everything. Why did Enlin suddenly possess such an extraordinary consciousness technique? This was all because he had obtained the Spirit Patriarch's inheritance. Boom. The demonic frost star crashed heavily into the ground. It knelt before Enlin. It had thought that obtaining the location of the Spirit Patriarch Palace would be a bargaining chip for its survival. However, who would have thought that Enlin had already played around with it? Not only that, but he had even taken the palace with him. It finally understood what true despair was. Even Black Spirit Snake couldn't help but sigh with emotion. I really don't know what you've been through, Enlin. We're still trying to meet up with the others, and you've already taken the Spirit Patriarch Palace. Enlin stowed the palace away before asking with an intrigued expression, So, my adorable little ball, do you have any other valuable things or information? The demonic frost star was already in despair. It didn't think that Enlin would still be willing to give it a chance. It couldn't help but ponder seriously. I have another piece of information that is also very valuable. Chapter 1762. Tell me about it. If you can provide me with information comparable to the Spirit Patriarch Palace, then I'll let you go, Enlin urged. The demonic frost star nodded, causing the ground to tremor violently. I discovered a very dangerous place. Chaotic turbulence wreaked havoc there, and the laws here have collapsed. There are a series of ghastly ravines, broken mountains, rivers of blood, as well as unimaginably gargantuan corpses that exuded peculiar energy. Due to my large body size, it was too difficult for me to evade or resist the chaotic turbulence. I was severely wounded during one of my explorations, so I gave up. And Lin understood what the demonic frost star was trying to say. You're saying that place is the remains of a battlefield? That's right, and it's a very high-level battlefield. The demonic frost star replied with excitement. I'm pretty powerful, right? But in that place, even residual battle energy that has been accumulated for countless years can injure me. Everyone looked at the demonic frost star with peculiar expressions. The demonic frost star could see from their expressions that it was very difficult to convince them. It couldn't help but feel stifled. Are you looking down on this planet? Unlin nodded. All right, you lead the way. If I'm satisfied with that place, then I'll let you go. He then turned to everyone else. What do you guys think? This is a rare opportunity. We can go and have a look, Black Spirit Snake suggested. I'll go with you. Lu Qianhuan smiled. Lu Mingxian heaved a forlorn sigh. I'll go as well. He just didn't want to see anything happen to his daughter. Su Xiaolan had already exacted her revenge, so she would naturally follow Enlin wherever he went. White Spirit Snake was a little hesitant. Didn't we agree to meet up first before moving together? Haven't we met up now? Black Spirit Snake asked. Enlin suddenly came to a realization. I think there's still a monkey? Black Spirit Snake and Su Xiaolan came to a sudden realization. That's right, where's the battling Buddha? They had agreed that he would trigger the battle, and everyone would follow the traces of the battle to successfully meet up. The four of them had met up, but the battling Buddha was nowhere to be seen. An awkward expression appeared on Black Spirit Snake's face. What do we do now? We've already achieved our goal before we even meet up. It doesn't matter if we meet up or not. Besides, no one can do anything to it in this place. Even if we can't defeat it, we can still escape, Enlin said. Everyone felt that it made sense. Just like that, they stood on the small planet and flew toward the spirit realm's black pole. Elsewhere in the spiritual realm, outside the large ruins, the majestic Monkey King stood outside the gate of the ruins with a massive golden staff in his hand, keeping all of the Void Spirit Tribe powerful beings at bay. The battling Buddha was quite perplexed. There had already been hundreds of battles here, and there had even been one between Tao Integration Stage super mighty figures, but none of his companions had discovered this place. Could it be that the way he fought was wrong? This shouldn't be happening. The monkey was very exasperated, and it turned to look at the Void Spirit Tribe powerful beings in the distance. What? Are there no powerful beings in the Void Spirit Tribe? You think a mere Ice Soul Emperor can break through my defense? Call a few more Tao Integration Stage super mighty figures over. The Void Spirit Tribe powerful beings in the distance were about to have a mental breakdown. Did he really think that Tao Integration Stage super mighty figures were Debai's dish? They looked at the ferocious monkey standing proudly at the gate, then at the Ice Soul Emperor, who had been pummeled beyond recognition, and their hearts were filled with grief. Wasn't it better for everyone to explore the ruins together? They had clearly discovered the ruins, but they weren't exploring it. Instead, they were blocking the way. What the hell was this monkey after? Was there something wrong with this monkey's head? A blue star flew through the air before plummeting toward the black pole in the sky. The monkey also noticed this, and its pupils contracted slightly. This is no ordinary shooting star. It's a life form in this world. So be it, it's too far away. The battling Buddha shook his head. Let's focus on this place and do something big. Otherwise, they won't even notice this place. There were different colors in the sky, and all of them fanned out in all directions. At this moment, at the Black Pole, within a chaotic and perilous battlefield, there was an extremely large orange lake. From one side of the lake to the other, one could only see the orange water intersecting with the inky black sky. There was no land in sight. At the center of the massive orange lake, There was a small white island that was glowing with a holy light, as if it were a holy pearl between heaven and earth. A white creature with a horse's body and a human head with spikes all over its body looked into the distance. The passageway to the continent has been opened. We can finally be free. A woman drenched in blood opened her scarlet eyes and said in an ethereal voice, "How many years has it been? Finally, it's our turn. I want to live. I want more blood." Bam! A pitch-black, bladeless, and heavy sword smashed onto the island. Massive waves instantly swept through the massive orange lake. An inky black humanoid male with crimson eyes and a pair of demonic horns exhaled an extremely rich demonic aura from his mouth. "I've wasted countless years in the holy ground. I wonder how many living beings on this continent still remember the mighty name of the ancient Fiend Celestial. Master Ancient Fiend Celestial, countless living beings must remember you." A fawning expression appeared on the horse-bodied, human-headed creature's face. The ancient Fiend Celestial spoke in a husky voice. "We paid far too heavy a price in order to plot against the Spirit Patriarch, and we were almost killed by the Monarch Spirit. However, the rewards were quite good. At the very least, I obtained the soul mantra that I yearned for and successfully separated my body and soul. My breakthrough is already 90% complete. All I have to do is return to the Tai Chu continent and use the power of the heavenly Tao to complete the God of Creation stage." A frosty light erupted from the ancient Fiend Celestial's eyes, and his killing intent almost made the entire lake churn. "I'm going to drag Cyril down with me this time. Your wish will be granted." The woman with blood all over her body bowed slightly. "You've already shed your mortal body, and you'll become a true God of Creation stage mighty figure when you return. Cyril is no match for you. If one were to look down from above, they would discover that this was only the stomach of a gargantuan godfiend, upon which a vast amount of liquid had already accumulated." Right at this moment, a star suddenly fell from the sky. The resulting shockwaves even caused the ancient Fiend Celestial's location to tremor slightly. "I can smell blood." The woman licked the blood from the corners of her lips. "Demonic maiden, we don't have much time left. We only have 30 hours, and our opponents are Tao integration stage super mighty figures. If you plan on devouring those ignorant fools, I suggest you take the 9 holy demons with you." The ancient Fiend Celestial spoke in an indifferent voice. "All right, I'll take the 9 holy demons with me. 15 minutes is more than enough to deal with them." The woman with blood all over her body chuckled before transforming into a streak of crimson light and flying toward the place where she had fallen. Chapter 1763. The gargantuan star lay on the ground and looked up ahead with a hint of shock and horror on its face. "This is the ancient battlefield. I wonder what kind of battle took place to transform this entire area into a perilous realm." This place was the extreme of the black sky. The sky was extremely dim, and it should have been very dark. However, because there were countless remnants of terrifying energy in the void and the earth in front of them, the world was illuminated, and there was a sense of fatal danger. Anlin, Su Xiaolan, and the others jumped off the star and surveyed the environment up ahead with interest. There were many ghastly battle scars up ahead, including some mountains that had been sliced in half. Some of the earth had caved in, and it was impossible to tell how deep it was. Some of the spatial rifts had yet to heal, and countless black and white chaotic turbulence was wreaking havoc from within. White Spirit Snake closed her eyes and carefully sensed her surroundings before speaking in a soft voice. "There's a very powerful soul power and the power of a true demon floating up ahead. Aside from that, there's also a very unfamiliar power that I've never seen before." The Void Spirit Tribe and the True Demon Tribe battled here? There's also an unfamiliar tribe here? Black Spirit Snake immediately summarized White Spirit Snake's findings. "There's also an unfamiliar tribe here? That's interesting." Anlin's interest was piqued. "Seeing as you're so satisfied, Sect Leader Anlin, can I go now?" The demonic frost star asked in a feeble voice. What's the hurry? Unlin raised his brows. You can only leave after I reap some rewards. Follow me from now on. Please don't. My body is too big, and I can easily be injured by all types of residual energy and chaotic turbulence. Didn't I tell you before? Please let me go. The demonic frost star pleaded. You're not a child anymore. Do you think a Tao integration stage super mighty being can't even shrink down? Unlin spoke in a cold voice. If I shrink down, my power will also decrease. The demonic frost star explained. That's all right. Shrink down and I'll protect you. Unlin waved a hand. The demonic frost star, a terrifying demonic being, was saying he was going to protect it? Why was that so unbelievable? What are you waiting for? Are you going to retreat or not? Unlin said coldly. The demonic frost star shuddered. Don't hit me, I'll shrink back, I'll shrink back. Soon, the demonic frost star shrunk to the size of a human head and hovered in the sky. At the same time, its cultivation base fell to the return to void initial stage, which was even lower than Unlin's cultivation base. Everyone clicked their tongues in wonder. The demonic frost star spoke in an aggrieved voice. I cultivate in the great Tao of planets, and the larger I am, the more powerful I am. If you force me to shrink my cultivation base will also be suppressed to a very ridiculous level. Unlin patted Gui Xing's shoulder and comforted him. Don't worry, there are still return to void stage cultivators, right? I'm also at the return to void intermediate stage, so it's no big deal. The demonic frost star was about to have a mental breakdown. It's different. We're different, Mr. Unlin. Unlin was able to pummel a Tao integration pinnacle stage cultivator at the return to void stage, so any Tao integration stage cultivator at the return to void stage would be able to pummel it. How could this be the same? Everyone entered the ancient battlefield. The biting cold bloody wind blew over like a knife. This bloody wind was powerful enough to annihilate normal living beings, but it was merely a gentle breeze to him. Everyone continued onward, encountering all types of perilous zones such as poisonous miasma, fire, and soul annihilation. However, they were able to break through all of them with their absolute power, and nothing could stop them. This was indeed an ancient battlefield. Many mighty figures had battled here, and there were even remnants of power that made even Unlin's heart palpitate. However, there were surprisingly few treasures here. Aside from digging up some corpses as materials, there wasn't even a single spirit-rank treasure to be found. This was completely out of line with the style of this battlefield. How about we split up? Unlin suggested. Su Xiaolan looked at the vast expanse of gray before them and agreed to this suggestion. The ancient battlefield was far too big, so splitting up was a good idea. Not only could they expand their search area, but they also wouldn't have to split any treasures that they encountered. If they all worked together and encountered an immortal herb, and there were 6 of them, who should they split it with? This was a very difficult decision. If you encounter any difficulties or dangers, use this to contact me. Unlin handed a black ball to each of the 6 people present. As long as you activate the black ball with your vital energy, all of us will be able to locate each other as long as we're within 500,000 kilometers of each other. Lu Mingxian, Lu Qianhuan, Black Spirit Snake, White Spirit Snake, and Su Xiaolan each received a black ball. There was no need to take the demonic frost star as it had Unlin's protection. Lu Mingxian and Lu Qianhuan took one path, while everyone else went off in different directions to explore on their own. Unlin carried a black ball with him as he carefully surveyed his surroundings. Most of the time, he was digging up corpses. Most of these corpses belonged to true demon tribe powerful beings, so they could be considered treasures. Aside from that, there were also some damaged spirit tools and immortal tool fragments that could be sold for quite a bit of money. Unlin rummaged through the corpse of a god fiend over 1,000 feet tall with a resigned expression. Sigh. This place is indeed filled with treasures for noobs, But why do I feel like I'm just picking up trash? The demonic frost star shuddered upon hearing Enlin's complaint, and it immediately tried to salvage the situation. Don't worry, the good stuff is definitely behind us. We'll definitely be able to find some good stuff after venturing deeper into the battlefield. The demonic frost star was afraid that Enlin would vent his anger on it. More than anyone else, it wanted Enlin to happily obtain the treasures he needed. Only then would there be a chance for it to be released by Enlin. Enlin nodded slightly. He simply couldn't bear to look at these things anymore. He had picked up the treasures dropped by the Sword Essence Emperor, the Chaotic Demon Ball, the Dark Soul Emperor, the Bright Soul Snake, the Infernal Abyss Emperor, the God-engulfing Skeleton, and Ember. As for the treasures dropped from the battlefield, they were no different from trash in his eyes. Enlin ventured deeper into the forest. However, there were no treasures that caught his eye. What's going on? Something doesn't feel right. I feel like some other living being has already scavenged this place. Enlin became more and more depressed as he searched. The demonic frost star was unconvinced upon hearing this. That's impossible. The spirit realm has only just opened, and this is the first time this area has been opened. I was the first living being to discover this place, so how could some other living being have gotten here before me? Actually, that big brother is right. All of the treasures here have already been scavenged by us. You're just picking up trash. A soft, seductive voice suddenly sounded from behind it. The demonic frost star was given a fright, and it immediately turned to discover a majestic true demon tribe female in a suit of crimson armor holding a spear as she looked at them with a smile on her face. At this moment, a cold male voice sounded from up ahead. Demon Sage Xianchang, don't waste your breath on these two return-to-void stage trash. Hurry up and take care of them, then go and reinforce Mistress Demonic Maiden. A true demon tribe powerful being with his hands clasped behind his back looked at Enlin with a cold expression. Chapter 1764. Return to void stage trash. Are you referring to me? Enlin blinked in confusion. The demonic frost star was enraged. You're the trash. Your whole family is trash. A Dao integration initial stage true demon and a true demon at the return to void pinnacle stage were both calling a Dao integration intermediate stage trash? The demonic frost star refused to accept this. However, Enlin was not enraged. Instead, he looked at the two true demons with interest. The man in the front had a cold expression on his face, and he was clearly a Dao integration initial stage powerful being with a powerful cultivation base. The woman behind him was at the return to void pinnacle stage. Her appearance was quite unique. She was curvy and graceful, and her blood-red armor only reached her buttocks. Her skirt, which was made up of straight, sword-like metal armor, revealed her snow-white and slender thighs. One could even see the root of her thigh through the gaps of the metal armor, which was extremely sexy and provocative. Regardless of whether it was the male true demon in front of him or the female true demon behind him, they both gave him a special feeling, a feeling that had been sealed away for countless years. Enlin was a little curious. So you two got here first and took all the treasures? I can sense a special aura from your bodies. It's a very ancient aura, like a fine wine that has been brewed for countless years. Did you come here after the spirit realm opened, or have you been here for a long time? I have no interest in talking to a dead man. The male true demon chuckled coldly. Immediately afterward, he abruptly stomped the ground, and his body shot forth like a black shadow toward Enlin. His hands suddenly transformed into inky black demonic claws that were enshrouded in a black divine Dao light. Die. This was his most powerful technique, the dark shadow demonic strike, which he had once used to severely wound a Dao integration initial stage holy demon. Both its speed and power had reached the pinnacle, and using it to kill a return to void stage cultivator was like killing a chicken with a butcher's knife. However, just as his claws were about to strike Enlin's neck, an indescribable aura suddenly enshrouded his entire body, immediately following which his claws were firmly gripped by a hand. Before he could react to what was going on, another palm had already landed on his back. Slap! Boom! The male true demon's indestructible body was smashed into the shape of a U before crashing heavily into the ground, creating a massive crater. Pwah! A mouthful of demonic blood sprayed out. The male true demon felt as if all of his bones and tendons had been shattered by that single slap. Meanwhile, the return to void stage cultivator, whom he had looked down upon, was looking down at him from above and waving his hands in resignation. Your skin is so hard, my hands have gone numb from all the slap. The male true demon. Unlin squatted down and looked at the male true demon with a smile. Now, can you answer my question? The male true demon let loose an enraged roar as he abruptly sprang up, and his claws tore through space as he stabbed toward Unlin's heart and head. I won't tell you anything even if I die. Bang! Unlin punched the male true demon's head until it exploded. The male true demon's body was still in a lunging posture, but his head had already disappeared. Rumble, the great Tao of heaven and earth began to mourn. The appearance of a phenomenon represented the fall of a generation's powerhouse. Oh? Looks like he's also a Tao integration stage super mighty figure like us? But he looks so weak. Is there really such a weak Tao integration stage super mighty figure? Unlin spoke in an indifferent voice as he looked down at the small planet beside him. This is probably because you're too powerful. The demonic frost star's body trembled as it grumbled internally. This was a man who could kill Tao integration stage super mighty figures as if they were chickens. Unlin wore a resigned expression as he turned to look at the sexy female true demon behind him. The female true demon's body instantly tensed up as she stared at Unlin with shock and horror on her face. Who are you? The male true demon was one of the most powerful among the 9 holy demons, but he couldn't even take a single punch from Unlin? This human was definitely not a return to void stage super mighty figure. He was definitely faking it. Heh, I'm the one asking you questions. Unlin looked at the horrified and helpless female true demon and said, Answer me, what's going on with you true demons? The female true demon, who was referred to as the Xian Chong demon sage, gritted her teeth and tried to stabilize her breathing as she pointed her spear at Unlin. She didn't answer Unlin's question. Unlin was a little surprised. Oh? Looks like you've got some guts. He could see that the female true demon at the return to void pinnacle stage was extremely flustered and scared, but she still aimed her spear at Unlin with the determination to die. That made sense. Unlin was able to crush a Tao integration stage male true demon with a single punch, so he probably wouldn't even need a single punch to deal with this female true demon. I really admire your guts, but are you really not going to tell me? You just have to tell me where you came from. There's no need to reveal too much, Unlin continued. The female true demon took a deep breath as she stared at Unlin with her crimson eyes. You've already committed a grave sin by killing our 9 holy demons. The ancient Fian Celestial's judgment will soon descend upon you. You'll regret everything you've done today. Unlin's eyes lit up. There's a Fiend Celestial? What rank is a Fiend Celestial? The female true demon's expression faltered before a bright blush appeared on her face. She knew that she had spilled the beans. Red demon scorching spear. The female true demon let loose an enraged roar as her spear, which was enshrouded in scorching red divine Tao demonic energy, stabbed toward Unlin's head. It was as if an ancient fiend celestial had descended from the heavens, and it roared as if it were going to tear all of its enemies apart. Unlin heaved a faint sigh. In the instant that the spear was about to reach him, he turned his head and easily evaded the spear's attack. He then lunged forward and launched a fist toward the female true demon's chest. The tough crimson armor was shattered by his fist, and a gargantuan, bloody hole instantly appeared on the female true demon's chest. The female true demon's eyes were still open, but all signs of life had been severed in that instant. Her body swayed and fell to the ground. Her slender snow-white legs trembled for a moment, but soon, there was no more movement. And Lin picked up the storage rings of the two true demons and refined them in an attempt to find some clues. An elated expression appeared on his face when he saw what was inside. There are quite a few treasures in there. There were very few spirit stones in the storage rings, but there were many treasures. There were ancient god corpses that were exuding powerful energy fluctuations, all types of spirit and immortal rank materials, exotic immortal rank plants, and some immortal rank demonic weapons, as well as fragments of divine tools. All of these were precious treasures on the battlefield, not taking into account anything else. Just the rewards from this battle alone were hundreds or even thousands of times more than what he had obtained from picking up trash. To be able to obtain so many treasures on the battlefield in such a short time, it looks like they didn't come here when the spirit realm opened. They've probably been here for a long time already. And Lin murmured to himself before turning to the blue star hovering beside him. Little star, you're saying this is the first place that the spirit realm has opened countless times? The demonic frost star's body shuddered as it hurriedly nodded. That's right. It didn't dare to express even the slightest hint of displeasure when Enlin referred to it as Little Star. Even if Enlin were to refer to it as Little Sweetie, it would still be very happy, let alone Little Star. Enlin carefully rummaged through the two storage rings for a while before finally discovering something unusual. It was a scroll with a restriction on it. Enlin used the power of his consciousness to break open the restriction and unfurl the scroll, upon which he was immediately rooted to the spot upon seeing a few large crimson words. A few large words were written on the scroll. Plan to kill the Spirit Patriarch. Chapter 1765. Enlin's heart skipped a beat when he saw the bloody words on the scroll. He thought about the mysterious death of the Spirit Patriarch and then looked at the countless corpses of the true demons and the mysterious corpses on this ancient battlefield. Countless guesses came to his mind. Enlin continued to flip through the scroll to discover that the ancient fiend celestial of the true demon tribe had conspired with a certain spirit tribe cultivator to kill the Spirit Patriarch. However, it was written very roughly. Only the division of labor between the two dead true demons was written in great detail. The place where the plan would be carried out was this battlefield. This battlefield was originally a soul power magnetic field that could stimulate the spirit bodies of void spirit tribe cultivators to a great extent, and it was an important place for the Spirit Patriarch to conduct all types of experiments. Back when the ancient fiend celestial was preparing for the God of Creation stage, his body was already extremely powerful, but his consciousness was severely lacking. The Spirit Patriarch had a cultivation method called the Soul Mantra, which was able to drastically enhance one's consciousness. As such, the ancient fiend celestial set his sights on the Spirit Patriarch's soul mantra, and Lin was shocked when he saw this. A powerful being at the Tao integration pinnacle stage was plotting against a god of creation? You want to kill the spirit ancestor? It had to be said that this was very bold and crazy. Coincidentally, the ancient fiend celestial was acquainted with a spirit tribe monarch from outside this realm, and he also wanted something from the Spirit Patriarch. Hence, the two of them joined forces and set up a trap in the soul power magnetic field under the guise of exchanging treasures with the Spirit Patriarch. Neither the ancient fiend celestial nor the spirit tribe monarch was a match for the Spirit Patriarch, but they had set up a god suppression formation and a spirit annihilation formation within the soul power magnetic field. They had mobilized a total of 16 Tao integration stage super mighty figures and over 100 return to void stage super mighty figures. Furthermore, they had used 3 divine rank poisons, sacrificed 2 divine tools, and prepared a spear constructed from a mysterious primordial bone spike. They even took advantage of the Spirit Patriarch's weakness, which was that he was too engrossed in research and wasn't skilled in combat. In this grand plan, the 2 great devil saints were the pillars of the god-suppressing formation. What followed was the detailed steps of how the two great devil saints did it, which had no research value. As for the final result of this operation, it was already very obvious. The holy demon was still alive, but the spirit patriarch had fallen, so this ancient fiend celestial had most likely succeeded. Oh no! If the holy demon is here, does that mean the ancient fiend celestial is nearby? Lin's expression finally became grave. I wonder if the ancient fiend celestial has progressed to the god of creation stage. If he has, then things will be quite troublesome. The demonic frost star immediately panicked upon hearing this. The ancient fiend celestial has already obtained the soul mantra for so long, so he must have already reached the god of creation stage. Let's get out of here. Our lives are more important. And Lin didn't refute the demonic frost star's words this time. Even though he was already a Tao integration stage super mighty figure, he didn't have the confidence to defeat a god of creation stage opponent. The spirit patriarch's enemies are my enemies. Ancient fiend celestial, spirit tribe monarch, I'll remember you. I will definitely find a chance to take revenge. And Lin inserted a flag. The demonic frost star's heart jolted upon hearing this. If anyone else knew that a return to void stage cultivator was trying to exact revenge on a god of creation, they would definitely laugh their heads off. However, Lin was definitely serious when he said this. Rumble, at this moment, the sound of anguish erupted between heaven and earth again. Another Tao integration stage super mighty figure has fallen? Who's fighting this time? Lin turned toward the east with curiosity on his face. That was where the sound of anguish was coming from. At this moment, in the eastern region of the ancient battlefield, a powerful true demon lay on the ground with half of its head sliced off, and there was a massive sword wound on its chest from which blood had congealed and frost had formed over its entire body. A man with a cold expression and a woman in a sailor's suit both wore exhausted expressions, clearly having just endured a fierce battle. How could there be a Tao integration stage true demon in a place like this? And it's a very unfamiliar face. Lu Mingxian spoke with a grave expression. It really isn't one of the Tai Chu continent's true demon emperors. Could it be that there are true demon tribe cultivators in other worlds as well? Lu Qianhuan speculated. Let's search through his storage ring to see if there are any clues, Lu Mingxian suggested. Thus, the two of them began to search through the storage ring before discovering a mysterious scroll. History always repeated itself. Immediately afterward, the two of them were astonished by the plan to kill the spirit patriarch. This Tao integration stage true demon participated in the plan to kill the spirit patriarch? Lu Mingxian took a deep breath as a sense of unease welled up in his heart. If that's the case, then the ancient fiend celestial could very well be nearby. Lu Qianhuan was also a little panicked. Crap. We have to hurry up and gather Lin and the others to retreat. We definitely can't stay here for long. It was also at this moment that the black balls in their hands suddenly had a strong reaction. Both of their expressions shifted upon seeing this. Someone was crying for help, and Lin also saw the black ball in his body suddenly tremble. He immediately rushed toward the direction of the cry for help. The situation was extremely dire. All of the small teams possessed Tao integration stage combat prowess, and some of them even had Tao integration pinnacle stage combat prowess. For them to be crying for help meant that they had most likely encountered an extremely fearsome being. It was exactly because of this that they couldn't afford to waste even a single second. Wait for me. Wait for me. The demonic frost star was completely unable to keep up with Lin's speed, and it yelled as it chased after him. It was only a measly return to void stage mighty figure, and it was in a perilous situation. It could only cling onto Lin's leg for protection. Wait a minute. The demonic frost star suddenly faltered upon seeing this. Wait a minute. Lin was in a hurry to save Lu Qianhuan and didn't even have time to think about it. So why didn't it take this opportunity to escape? Look. and Lin has almost disappeared into the distance. He was the one who abandoned me, not the other way around. The demonic frost star was suddenly touched by its own clever thinking. Looking at things from a different perspective, it felt like the world had opened up. Ha ha! Sect leader and Lin, I'll never see you again. I'm leaving. An elated smile appeared on the demonic frost star's face as it turned around and fled away from the perilous battlefield. And Lin really couldn't care less about the demonic frost star. He placed the safety of his comrades as his #1 priority, and he even unleashed the power of the heavenly wind god to fly toward the direction that the black ball had detected. Soon, he sensed the energy fluctuations of the battle. And Lin was extremely familiar with those energy fluctuations. It's Xiaolan? And Lin was given a fright, and he continued to accelerate. Su Xiaolan was only at the Tao integration intermediate stage. If she really encountered a god of creation stage ancient godfiend, then her life would definitely be in danger. Xiaolan, you have to hold on no matter what. And Lin was extremely anxious as a powerful killing intent soared into the heavens from his body. Don't let anything happen to you. Otherwise, I'll make those who hurt you pay an unimaginable price. Chapter 1766. And Lin arrived at the scene of the battle. Su Xiaolan was engaged in a fierce battle with a woman with blood all over her body. And Lin heaved a sigh of relief upon seeing that Su Xiaolan was still alive. People always imagined the worst-case scenario in the face of extreme danger. Thankfully, that worst-case scenario didn't occur. And Lin had only just heaved a sigh of relief when rage welled up in his heart again. This was because Su Xiaolan had been wounded. The woman with a pair of sinister purple wings on her back was at the Tao integration pinnacle stage. She was very powerful, but she wasn't powerful enough to force Su Xiaolan into a dire situation. Most importantly, there were 6 true demon tribe powerful beings present, and they had shamelessly teamed up with that woman to attack Su Xiaolan. They were bullying a weak woman. Su Xiaolan was facing 4 Tao integration stage mighty figures and 3 return to void pinnacle stage mighty figures on her own, so she was naturally at a disadvantage. At this moment, there were already a dozen or so wounds on her body, and blood had stained her jade barley ink garment red, but she was still fighting with all her might. And Lin flared up with rage. Release Xiaolan, you be *stards. Come at me. A sea of demonic starlight erupted from his eyes, and a golden dragon coiled around his waist as a pair of wings appeared on his back. He instantly activated his fire sage mode and flew toward the battlefield. Earth-shattering clashes erupted on the battlefield. The woman with blood all over her body looked at the wounded Su Xiaolan with a faint smile on her face. You're not bad. You were able to withstand the combined attacks of the 6 holy demons and me for so long. I'll give you a chance to surrender and swear your loyalty to the ancient fiend celestial, and I can spare your life. Su Xiaolan slashed the pale hand that was reaching toward her with her dragon sparrow sword in hand. In your dreams. When my friend arrives here, it will be the time for you to die. Right at this moment, an enraged roar erupted in the distance. Let go of Xiaolan, be *stards. A disdainful sneer appeared on the demonic maiden's face at the sight of the man engulfed in flames in the distance. That human cultivator of the return to void stage is the friend you said could save you? For a friend of this level, let alone him, even if there were 10 of them, I would still be able to crush them like ants. Emoji stuck out her bloody tongue and chuckled. All the saint fiends roared with laughter. Ha ha! Lord Emoji, leave that human brat to me. A burly true demon with arms that resembled the bodies of 2 dragons stood in front of the battlefield. The power of the Dragonslayer Divine Tao surged forth, materializing 2 roaring black dragons on his arms. His name was Nulong, and he was also one of the 9 holy demons. His cultivation base was at the Return to Void pinnacle stage, which was more than enough to deal with a cultivator of the Return to Void intermediate stage. If his opponent was weaker, He might even be able to insta-kill him. Rage Dragon looked at Enlin and was about to punch out when he felt a suffocating aura. Scram! Enlin's entire body was enveloped in a sacred flame that was as scorching as the sun. Just as Nu Long was about to make a move, he discovered that his body had already begun to melt before he could even move. Bam! Rage Dragon Holy Fiend was pulverized by Enlin's body, and his shattered body was reduced to a cloud of smoke in midair. Emoji's pupils constricted when she saw this. Immediately after, she felt an unimaginably powerful aura surging towards her. You! Emoji turned to Enlin and was just about to attack. Enlin had already appeared before Emoji, and his fist tore through the air with a sharp screeching sound as the power of the 7 holy flames imbued within his arm erupted at the same time. Demonic 9 revolutions. Emoji's palm met Enlin's, and 9 layers of demonic energy revolved around her palm. An indescribably terrifying power destroyed the 9-fold devil chi in an instant. Then, Emoji's palm was shattered into pieces and melted. Boom! Terrifying power instantly crashed into Emoji's body, and she was sent flying for over 10 kilometers by Enlin's fist before crashing into the ground, leaving a long trench in her wake. The battlefield suddenly fell silent for a split second. Among the 5 surviving holy fiends, some of them still had smiles on their faces before their expressions gradually became blank. Rage Dragon Holy Fiend had been slammed to death, and Emoji, who was the most powerful among them, had been sent flying with a single punch. All of this was done by a return-to-void stage human cultivator? Was the friend that the green-robed female sword immortal had been referring to really this terrifying? Enlin! A vibrant smile appeared on Su Xiaolan's face at the sight of the man who had descended like a heavenly god. I'm sorry I'm late, Xiaolan. Enlin's heart ached at the sight of the injured woman. He then pulled out an immortal pill and fed it to Su Xiaolan. The 5 powerful holy fiends around them were completely ignored. However, they did not dare to make a sound and could only watch the scene in front of them quietly. In contrast, the demonic maiden rose to her feet with a menacing aura. One of her charred arms was quickly regenerating as she glowered at Enlin with a cold expression. Human cultivator, don't you dare get cocky. You'll be doomed when my master, the ancient fiend celestial, descends. Is that so? I feel like I can kill you before the ancient fiend celestial arrives. A cold light flashed in Enlin's eyes as killing intent swept forth once again, causing the surrounding holy fiends to falter. The ancient fiend celestial will arrive in 2 minutes at most. You won't be able to kill me during this time. On the contrary, I can delay your escape, Emoji said with a confident expression. Is that so? What if I join in? A voice sounded from afar. The 2 of them flew toward them atop their swords. The woman's sword intent was as lofty and as cold as winter, and her sword intent was extremely extraordinary. The man's sword intent soared into the heavens, striking a sense of peril into Emoji's heart. All those who dare to bully Big Sister Xiaolan must die. A crisp voice also sounded. White Spirit Snake flew over from afar with her yin and yang dual swords in her hands before sealing the space within a radius of over 150 kilometers. You're dead meat. Hurry up and kill them, then run. Black Spirit Snake's killing intent surged from her body. All of her friends had gathered here. At this moment, Emoji's expression finally shifted. If she were dealing with Enlin and Su Xiaolan on her own, then she would be fine. However, there were now 3 Dao integration stage super mighty figures and 1 return to void stage super mighty figure, and they weren't just ordinary Dao integration stage super mighty figures either. At the border of the ancient battleground, the demonic frost star was flying through the air at high speed. I can finally escape from the clutches of demons. That wasn't easy. The demonic frost star wept tears of joy. First, it was surrounded by Enlin and had a narrow escape. Then, it used the information from the Spirit Patriarch Palace to beg for its life. After that, it used the information from the ancient battleground to beg for its life. Finally, it took advantage of the fact that Enlin was in danger to find an opportunity to escape. It was touched by its own will to survive. After I get back, I have to find a mother star to fall in love with. I almost bade farewell to this world, before I even had a chance to fall in love. The demonic frost star set a goal. Just like that, it flew through the air. All of a sudden, it felt a burst of resistance in front of it, which made it fly slower and slower. In the end, it was shocked to find that it couldn't fly anymore. A tall and broad true demon wearing a suit of colorful divine armor and wielding a black, bladeless sword had appeared before it. Are you willing to become my steed? The Demonic Frost Star. Chapter 1767. Mount? Was there something wrong with that? The demonic frost star looked down at its round body. Which part of its body resembled a mount at all? Could it have encountered a freak? Dream on. I am the demonic frost star of the Void Spirit tribe, an extremely powerful being of this realm. You want to use me as a mount? I can crush you to death easily. The demonic frost star roared with rage. Oh? Not bad. A faint smile appeared on the true demon tribe man's face. I am the most powerful being in the realm of demons, the ancient fiend celestial. Think about becoming my mount. The demonic frost star let loose a torrent of abuse. I don't care if you're an ancient fiend celestial or an ancient fiend celestial, I'll. Wait, you are. The blue star suddenly began to tremor violently. You're the ancient fiend celestial who successfully killed the spirit patriarch? Oh? Looks like you know a lot. A faint smile appeared on the ancient fiend celestial's face. That is indeed me. Boom. The demonic frost star felt as if it had been struck by lightning. What the F***ck is wrong with me? I just escaped from Enlin, only to fall into the hands of the ancient fiend celestial? The demonic frost star was about to have a mental breakdown. Why was it being targeted everywhere it went? What's wrong? Do you agree or not? The ancient fiend celestial asked. The demonic frost star paused momentarily before replying. What do you like about me? I'll change, all right? I'm a ball. I've never seen anyone use a ball as a mount. The ancient fiend celestial shook his head with an earnest expression. No, I saw your true body through my eye of truth. Your true body is a small star with a diameter of over 300 kilometers, right? On top of that, I've been able to peek into your future through the eye of spacetime trajectory. In the future, you'll become a true life form of a planet. Think about it, riding on a planet as your steed. How astonishing and domineering would that be? This is what I, the ancient fiend celestial, should be capable of. The ancient fiend celestial pointed at the demonic frost star. I won't beat around the bush. Ever since I saw you fall here in your star form, I've wanted to ride you. The demonic frost star. If you don't want to become my steed, you have another choice, the ancient fiend celestial said upon seeing the demonic frost star's reluctance. What choice? The demonic frost star asked with an excited expression. The ancient fiend celestial raised his massive sword with a smile on his face. I killed him, of course. If I can't ride my treasure, then no one else is qualified to ride it. Destroying it is the best choice. The demonic frost star's heart jolted violently. Insane. It had met a lunatic. For some reason, it missed Enlin very much. At the very least, Enlin wouldn't want to ride it, and he wouldn't want to kill it at the slightest disagreement. At the critical moment, he could even protect it when it was in danger. The ancient fiend celestial was looking at the demonic frost star with an intrigued expression, but he suddenly sensed something, and a hint of rage appeared on his face. The demonic maiden is in trouble. I'll give you 3 seconds to decide whether you want to die or let me ride you. The demonic frost star trembled. What? 3 seconds? The ancient fiend celestial. 3, 2, I do. The demonic frost star's expression was filled with humiliation. 2 rivers appeared above the blue star. Those were its tears of humiliation. The demonic maiden and the 5 holy demons were surrounded by Enlin, Su Xiaolan, Lu Mingxian, Black Spirit Snake, White Spirit Snake, and Lu Qianhuan. Even though they had the same number of people, the demonic maiden knew that they wouldn't be able to last even a minute in a battle. Enlin tore through space, and his body descended like a fireball toward the demonic maiden again. "Get over here!" The demonic maiden yelled at the 5 holy demons before pulling out a blood crystal from between her cleavage and activating it with all her might. The 5 holy demons charged toward the demonic maiden without any hesitation. A red energy crystal barrier instantly appeared, instantly enshrouding the demonic maiden and the 5 true demon tribe powerful beings. The crystal barrier glowed with countless divine symbols, and power of the divine Tao revolved around it. Boom! The fiery fist fell. The crystal tremored violently, but it didn't shatter. The demonic maiden heaved a sigh of relief upon seeing this, and a calm smile appeared on her face. "My heavenly blood demon crystal is a protective artifact personally refined by the ancient fiend celestial for me. Not only is it imbued with divine rank heavenly blood, but it's also imbued with his own power. You're dreaming if you think you can break it in a few minutes." Right at this moment, a divine halo suddenly appeared above Enlin's head. A boundless burst of energy imbued within the flaming fist crashed down. Boom! A ring-shaped shockwave proliferated outward. The boundless power of mountains crushed the earth and caused countless mountains to crumble. The heavenly blood demon crystal also cracked and crumbled at this moment. The demonic maiden was completely dumbstruck. She had only just finished speaking, and her demonic crystal was already cracked? A few minutes? Sorry, I'll only need a few seconds. Enlin chuckled coldly as he charged toward the demonic maiden. "Protect Mistress Demonic Maiden! Charge! Hold on until the ancient fiend celestial arrives." The other 5 holy demons all stepped forward to protect the demonic maiden without any fear of death. "You want to protect the demonic maiden? If it weren't for the demonic maiden, I wouldn't even be able to kill the 5 of you." Su Xiaolan harumphed lightly, and the cries of a true dragon and a vermilion bird erupted from her dragon sparrow sword as she slashed toward one of the Tao integration initial stage holy demons. Black Spirit Snake, White Spirit Snake, and the others also attacked the holy demon before them. Enlin charged toward the demonic maiden again before unleashing his fire sage fist. The demonic maiden frantically unleashed her power to defend herself, creating over 10,000 layers of blood and energy barriers in front of her. Enlin's fist crashed into the blood and energy barriers, and it was as if a scorching flame had come into contact with ice, causing the blood and energy barriers to melt and even boil. All of the power of the divine Tao and defensive true intent were pulverized by his fist. Bam 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 bam, over 10,000 layers of defenses were broken in the blink of an eye. Only now did the demonic maiden experience just how terrifying Enlin's power was. His fist crashed into her chest, blasting a massive hole into her body as her bloodied body flew back like a rag doll. At this moment, a blue figure had appeared behind her. "Feel despair." Divine sense Enlin wielded a golden soul sword, and just the residual might exuding from the sword struck the demonic maiden as if her consciousness were being sliced apart. The demonic maiden was given a fright. This wasn't a battle against a return to void stage cultivator. If it weren't for the fact that she had no essential power, she would feel as if she were fighting a god of creation. She had no choice but to bring out her second life-saving treasure. Whoosh! Divine sense Enlin's soul sword fell. The demonic maiden was reduced to a puddle of blood that splattered onto the ground. "You want to run?" Divine sense Enlin waved a hand through the air, and countless dark soul dragons appeared from his sleeve before pouncing on the demonic maiden in a frenzy. The demonic maiden's consciousness was being torn apart by the soul dragons, and she let loose a string of blood-curdling cries. "Stop!" An enraged roar erupted in the distance. A true demon in a suit of colorful divine armor flashed through the air as it spoke in a voice imbued with divine might that could strike all living beings into submission. I am the most powerful being in the demon realm, the ancient fiend celestial. If you stop, piss off. And Lin turned around and unleashed a fist. Boom. The true demon was caught off guard and was blasted flying by Lin's fist. Chapter 1768. Master Ancient Man. The demonic maiden and the holy demons were all dumbstruck by the sight of the ancient man fiend celestial being blasted flying. And Lin was a little surprised. Even though he hadn't held back in that attack, he didn't think that he would be able to send his opponent flying with a single punch. Wasn't his opponent a god of creation? Roar. I'm going to kill you. The ancient fiend celestial's face was completely flushed, and he roared with rage as he spread open his wings and rose into the air, upon which an extremely terrifying aura erupted from his body. And Lin could immediately tell that his opponent hadn't truly reached the god of creation stage yet. However, even though he hadn't reached the god of creation stage, he still possessed the aura of a god of creation stage being. It was just that he was still in the process of evolving. Half-step god of creation? Who would have thought that he still hasn't reached the god of creation stage? And Lin blinked with a hint of elation on his face. The situation wasn't at its worst yet. The ancient fiend celestial unleashed his terrifying aura, but not only was his opponent not fearful or nervous, he seemed to have become even more relaxed and elated. He was the most powerful being in the demon realm, so when had he ever been treated like this? Looks like you still don't know how terrifying I am. The muscles on the ancient fiend celestial's arms bulged as countless crimson divine patterns spread over his arms, accumulating an extremely terrifying power before tearing through space and unleashing a fist toward Lin. And Lin also unleashed his fire sage fist at the same time, unleashing all of the latent potential within his body to elevate the power of his fist to the maximum. Bam! The fists collided. Space instantly crumbled for close to 10 kilometers. Black Spirit Snake and the others were all blasted flying by the shockwaves of this clash. Heaven and earth tremored as mountains collapsed and rivers collapsed. A black energy hole appeared at the center of the collision, annihilating and engulfing everything. This was the first time Lin had experienced the might of a fiend celestial. He felt as if he had punched the hardest black brick in the world, and the bones in his fists were almost shattered by his own power. His opponent's power swept through his entire body with unstoppable force. What a frightening body! What a frightening power! And Lin's fist couldn't bear the heavy burden, and the sound of bones breaking could be heard. His body flew backward like a cannonball. The ancient fiend celestial was also blasted flying, but there were no wounds on his hands, so it was quite clear that he had gained the upper hand. However, his expression was no less shocked than Lin's. You actually blocked my fist? Unbelievable. How could a return to void cultivator do this? Who are you? The ancient fiend celestial asked with a grave expression. I'm your daddy. And Lin had only just stabilized his body before pouncing toward the ancient fiend celestial again. F***ck. The ancient fiend celestial was also enraged. No one had ever dared to insult him like this. Boom, boom, boom. The two of them started fighting hand to hand again, and the resulting shockwaves shook the heavens and the earth. Black Spirit Snake, Su Xiaolan, and the others continued to move into the distance. There were only 3 holy demons left, and all of them were at the Dao integration stage. The demonic maiden was in an extremely sorry state after being bitten by the dark soul dragon. Thankfully, the ancient fiend celestial's arrival drew Lin away, thereby saving her life. However, good things didn't last long. After taking care of the holy demons, Lu Mingxian and Lu Qianhuan had already noticed Black Spirit Snake, and they immediately raised their swords to attack her. It was also at this moment that a white true demon with a horse's body and a human's head descended from the sky before opening its mouth and spitting toward the 3 of them. White liquid surged forth in a torrential wave. Lu Mingxian drew his divine sword and slashed toward the liquid, but it was as if his sword had struck something extremely viscous and bouncy. Even though the liquid caved in, it was unable to break through. All three of their expressions shifted at the same time, and they hurtled back in retreat. Everything that the pure white liquid came into contact with, including the ground, was engulfed by it, upon which the liquid seemed to expand again. Pegasus! A hint of excitement appeared on the demonic maiden's face upon seeing this. "Don't worry, you won't die with me here," the horse-bodied true demon said in a cold voice. It then looked at the three of them, who were hurtling back in retreat, and a cold smile appeared on its face. "Not only is my star demon liquid indestructible, but it's also boundless and can assimilate all things. As long as it's powerful enough, it can even completely assimilate an entire planet, so it doesn't matter how many of you come." Whoosh! A black figure evaded the countless white tentacles before charging toward the Pegasus true demon, and a scorching golden light burst forth from the sword in its hand. "If I can't get rid of your star demon liquid, then I'll just have to cut you down." Black Spirit Snake's eyes widened as she gripped her realm creation evil vanquishing sword tightly before slashing it down upon the Pegasus. A faint smile appeared on the Pegasus' face as boundless white liquid suddenly materialized before it to form a wall. The divine sword struck the wall and sank deeply into it, upon which the boundless scorching sword intent was quickly engulfed, as if it had fallen into a dark abyss. Black Spirit Snake's expression shifted, and her black serpentine tail whipped through the air as she hurriedly pulled back her sword and retreated. "See? You won't be able to kill me either." The Pegasus was confident in its victory. At the same time, the star demon liquid continued to spread in a frenzy, and it even spread to other parts of the battlefield to assist the other holy demons. Only then did the holy demons finally have a chance to catch their breath. "Little Black, keep that centaur at bay." This spell technique requires the power of a living being to sustain it, so it won't be able to last for long. White Spirit Snake yelled as she slashed at the holy demons. A smile appeared on Black Spirit Snake's face as she evaded the attacks of the star demon liquid. "The day you lose control of the star demon liquid will be the day you die. Are you trying to stall for time? Sorry, but time is on our side." The Pegasus was not flustered in the slightest. "The ancient fiend celestial is far more powerful than you can imagine. It will take care of all of its enemies extremely quickly, so I don't have to worry about running out of energy." Boom! Heaven and earth suddenly tremored violently. Everyone couldn't help but turn toward a certain direction. There, a massive crater had appeared on the ground like a massive bowl. The Pegasus faltered upon seeing the living being at the center of the crater, while Su Xiaolan and Black Spirit Snake burst into laughter. The living being with a bloody hole in its chest and wounds all over its body was the ancient fiend celestial. The ancient fiend celestial coughed up blood as he looked up into the sky with an enraged expression. "That's 2-on-1. That's not fair." Unlin was still standing proudly in the sky, and his white robe was stained with blood as well, but his aura was still extremely powerful. Beside him stood a semi-transparent blue clone of Unlin, who was also exuding an ethereal aura as he looked down at the ancient fiend celestial. Unlin's physical body and Unlin's consciousness chuckled coldly in unison. "Hee hee, don't blame me for outnumbering you. I'm actually the same person." Chapter 1769. Bullsh *T. How could a single life form split its body and consciousness into two completely different forms to battle at the same time? The ancient fiend celestial roared with rage. He had seen powerful beings who had elevated their bodies to the extreme, such as the Holy Martial Clan. He had also seen powerful beings who had elevated their consciousness to the extreme, such as the Void Spirit Tribe. However, he had never seen or heard of someone who had elevated their body and consciousness to the extreme and allowed them to battle at the same time. Unlin clasped his hands behind his back. "Insects cannot speak of ice, frogs in the well cannot speak of the ocean. And Lin's consciousness spoke in an indifferent voice, mortals cannot speak of the Tao. The ancient fiend celestial instantly exploded with rage. He was a fiend celestial who had dominated an entire realm, but a return to void stage cultivator was using this phrase to describe him? I'll kill you! The wounds all over the ancient fiend celestial's body quickly squirmed before healing. At the same time, his body turned from inky black to crimson, and a crimson insignia appeared on his head. Sword come! An inky black sword that was even taller than his own body landed in his hand. The ancient fiend celestial's aura transformed into one of extreme ferocity and slaughter, and he rose into the air again before pouncing toward Lin. You want to play with the sword? Lin's body was enveloped by 7 types of holy flames, and the evil-slaying sword on his back also rose into the air before landing in his hand. Thus, he slashed his evil-slaying sword toward the oncoming ancient fiend celestial in his fire sage mode. Evil sword technique, royal divine monarch. The domineering dark sword chi extended for dozens of miles under his powerful strength. It was like a dark sword that could split the sky apart as it fell from the sky. The ancient fiend celestial let loose an enraged roar as he activated his body of the god fiend to the extreme, and he slashed his heavy sword through the air to meet the boundless might of the sword projection. Bam! The black sword projection clashed with the red sword projection. One was a paramount sword technique that seemed to be able to engulf and destroy all things, while the other was a sword technique that was filled with slaughter and seemed to be able to open up a new world. The two forces were the most barbaric and unreasonable. They fought against each other as if they had fallen into a deadlock. At the edge of the black and red clash, a streak of blue light approached the ancient fiend celestial at an incredible speed before plunging a pair of golden swords into the ancient fiend celestial's chest with a wide grin on his face. Ah! The ancient fiend celestial felt as if his consciousness was being torn apart as a terrifying excruciating pain threatened to engulf him. That blue light was precisely the divine soul Lin. The ancient fiend celestial's mind was severely wounded, and his aura was also thrown into disarray. The black sword projection finally broke through the ancient fiend celestial's sword projection before crashing viciously into his body. Bang! The impact of the sword chi tore apart the fiend god's body, bringing it along with it as it fell to the ground, tearing a terrifying fissure in the ground. The ancient fiend celestial had only risen for less than a minute before he was slammed back down into the dust. He struggled to his feet, and the massive sword wound on his chest was healing at a rate discernible to the naked eye. I'm a half-step god of creation stage being, but I'm being thwarted by a return to void stage cultivator over and over again. This is an absolute humiliation to me. The ancient fiend celestial looked up at the two Lin figures in the sky, and a viscous ball of dark green energy suddenly surged around his body before enshrouding his entire body like a suit of armor. This is a critical juncture in the God of Creation stage, and I didn't want to use this power, but I can't hold back anymore. I want to kill you right now. The ancient fiend celestial's eyes turned crimson as he stared at Lin. Lin felt as if there were vortexes in his opponent's eyes that could engulf and destroy everything in its line of sight. It was as if there was an independent world in his eyes, and he was the paramount god. The ancient fiend celestial's body shrank slightly, but the explosive energy within his body swelled explosively once again. What was most alarming was the layer of unknown dark green energy around his body, which struck Lin with an unprecedented sense of peril. Do you know what this is? The ancient fiend celestial opened his hand, and a dark green ball appeared in his palm, which he waved lightly toward Lin. Whoosh! The dark green ball suddenly transformed into an azure afterimage that pierced through the air, through space, and through everything before landing directly in front of Lin. Lin's eyelids twitched violently, and both his evading turtle tortoise and Xian Wu heaven sealing shell were instantly activated to create 2 layers of green defenses in front of him. The dark green energy came into contact with Lin's evading turtle armor first. This was an extremely pure and insane burst of energy, as if it were the beginning of the great Tao, the beginning of the world, and it quickly tore the evading turtle armor to shreds. And Lin could sense the difference in their levels of power. Bam! The dark green energy crashed into the divine tool, Xian Wu Heaven Sealing Shell. A defensive divine tool was extremely sturdy, but Lin could hear the sound of the divine tool shattering. It was very faint, but it was extremely audible. Immediately afterward, boundless power flowed into his body through the turtle shell. Boom! Lin was blasted flying for several hundred kilometers by the dark green energy like a rocket. The ancient fiend celestial slowly rose into the air, and a smile appeared on his face as he looked at the dazed Lin. Do you see that? This is the true difference in power. This is power that transcends beyond this world. He spread open his palm, and a dark green ball appeared in his hand again. Every god of creation will master a special type of power when they reach the pinnacle of their Tao, which is called essential power. And my essential power is demonic essential power. An intoxicated expression appeared on the ancient Fiend Celestial's face as he looked at the power in his hand. It's proud, tenacious, filled with boundless battle intent, and indestructible. What a beautiful and perfect power! Lin's lips twitched, and his body flashed like a bolt of lightning as he charged toward the ancient Fiend Celestial. Taking advantage of the ancient Fiend Celestial's narcissism, Lin materialized a golden sword in his hand before stabbing it toward his head. The ancient Fiend Celestial didn't take evasive measures, but a dark green barrier suddenly appeared above his head. The sword projection that had always been invincible let loose a sharp screeching sound upon striking the barrier. Divine sense and Lin's heart jolted with shock. In the next instant, the dark green ball in the ancient Fiend Celestial's hand exploded, transforming into tens of thousands of tiny flying swords that instantly punctured over 10,000 holes into Divine Sense and Lin's body. Lin let loose an anguished wail as his body crumbled. The ancient Fiend Celestial looked at the dark green barrier before speaking in an indifferent voice. Your consciousness is very powerful, even more so than mine. Unfortunately, you don't have a powerful body to support it, so you're still too fragile. The ancient Fiend Celestial looked at the man in the distance with a mocking expression. What else do you have up your sleeves? If not, then you can die now. Chapter 1770. Lin was over 50 kilometers away from the ancient Fiend Celestial. His Xian Wu Heaven Sealing Shell had already run out of energy, and there were still cracks near his heart. Just a normal attack had depleted the energy of his Xian Wu Heaven Sealing Shell and almost punctured his defenses. He didn't even know what to say in the face of such terrifying power, and Lin stowed away his turtle shell, upon which a searing pain suddenly erupted from his head again. Ow ow ow! My consciousness has also been blasted apart. He clutched his head and took a deep breath. After one's consciousness was destroyed, they would return to their physical body, but their energy would be depleted and they wouldn't be able to use the power of their consciousness for a short time. Lin, do you see that? This is my true power. If I get serious, there's no way you'll be able to survive. The ancient Fiend Celestial finally adopted a crushing stance as he approached Lin. Dark green energy surged around his body, making his aura even more terrifying and transcendent. Lin took a deep breath before unleashing his wings of wind and Kuan Pung travel at the same time, upon which he descended like the sun. Hee hee, you still want to fight me head-on? You've got balls. The ancient Fiend Celestial crossed his arms before his chest and looked down at Lin with a haughty expression. However, forgive me for being blunt, but without the power of your consciousness, you won't even be able to break through my defenses. You're nothing more than trash right now. Fire Sage Mountain Quaking Fist. Lin's fist fell. An earthy divine halo suddenly appeared above his head. A boundless power of the paramount laws of the heavenly gods manifested around his fist at this moment. The ancient Fiend Celestial's pupils contracted drastically, and before he had a chance to defend himself, Unlin's fist had already crashed into his demonic essential energy. The demonic essential energy was indestructible, while the power of mountains on Unlin's fist crushed everything in its path. The clash between the two of them was like a clash between two different levels of power. For the first time, Unlin discovered that the release of his power of the heavenly gods was being hindered, and he was fighting against a power that was on par with him. Thankfully, the ancient fiend celestial hadn't unleashed his full power to defend himself, but Unlin had unleashed his full power to unleash this attack. The demonic essence energy was then shattered, and the ancient fiend celestial's body caved in from the punch, breaking countless of his bones before plummeting to the ground again. Rumble! The ancient fiend celestial looked up at Unlin, who was like a heavenly god descending from the heavens, and murmured to himself, "What kind of power is this?" It felt that Unlin was refreshing its understanding over and over again. When did such a freakish being appear on the Tai Chu continent? Before the ancient fiend celestial could catch his breath, Unlin descended from the sky and unleashed another fist. "Don't underestimate me." The ancient fiend celestial let loose an enraged roar as his body rose into the air, and a vast amount of demonic essential energy erupted from his fist before meeting Unlin's fist. Fiend celestial nirvana fist. Boom! Countless specks of mundane light shimmered on the inky green demonic essential energy around his fist, as if it had reverted back to its original form, then suddenly descended from the heavens. This power clashed with the power of the heavenly mountain, and it was able to repress the power of the heavenly mountain, thereby creating a stalemate. Golden light crashed down, and the inky green energy erupted in a frenzy, transforming the entire sky into two distinct layers of colors, one high and one low. Unlin's and the ancient fiend celestial's arms were torn apart at the same time, and both of them were sent flying back from the explosion of energy. Ha ha! Nice! The ancient fiend celestial swayed his bloody arm before charging toward Unlin with raucous laughter. "I admit, you're the most incredible opponent I've ever faced. Aside from the heavenly gods, you're also the first living being to be able to resist my power of the heavenly gods." Battle intent also ignited in Unlin's eyes, and he unleashed his power of the heavenly mountain to its fullest extent as he charged toward the fiend celestial. He knew that the enemy in front of him could give him a hearty battle. Bam bam bam! Fists collided with flesh. Unlin's fist shattered the ancient fiend celestial's chest, while the ancient fiend celestial's claws tore into Unlin's lower abdomen. Unlin slapped the ancient fiend celestial's demonic horn into two, while the ancient fiend celestial unleashed a vicious hammer toward the divine halo above Unlin's head, trying to destroy it. Each of Unlin's attacks was imbued with the power of the heavenly mountain, while each of the ancient fiend celestial's attacks was imbued with the power of the god of creation stage. This was a clash between the power of the heavenly gods and the power of the demonic essential energy. The battle reached a climax, and the entire sky was shattered by this battle. Unlin and the ancient fiend celestial continued to unleash devastating attacks, and both of them were using all of their power to defend themselves against the oncoming onslaught. At this point, even the slightest misstep could result in complete defeat. The ruins of the ancient battlefield had been razed to the ground, and this had become a new battlefield. The two of them flew back at the same time amid an earth-shattering clash. Both of them were riddled with wounds. Unlin's limbs and chest were riddled with bone-deep gashes, and his white robe had been stained with blood. The ancient fiend celestial's body had also been hammered red and swollen, and one of his arms had also disappeared. "Ha ha ha, this is so satisfying." The ancient fiend celestial was chortling with glee from the fact that he was having such a good time fighting the ancient fiend celestial. A ferocious expression then appeared on his face. However, the regenerative abilities and endurance of the demon tribe are far superior to those of your human tribe. It must be very difficult for you to maintain this state for too long, right? Hence, I'm going to be the one to win this battle. I really can't maintain this state for too long. Lin's storage ring flashed, and he grabbed a handful of immortal pills. He didn't know how many there were, but he stuffed them all into his mouth before chewing. But that's alright, I have a lot of pills. Boom. Terrifying power instantly surged through his entire body, and his injuries began to heal at a rate discernible to the naked eye. His energy also began to flow into his body at an extremely fast rate. The ancient Fiend Celestial's eyes widened as he roared, "Roar! How dare you eat immortal pills in the middle of a battle, and so many of them? Where is your dignity?" Lin splayed his hands open. "Money is also a type of power. It's not like I forbid you from taking pills." The ancient Fiend Celestial flared up with rage. Lin knew that he had been living in this godforsaken place for countless years and was extremely poor, yet he had the cheek to challenge him to a competition of pills? He couldn't hold back any longer, and he spread open his wings before pouncing toward Lin again. Die! Lin's body flashed through the air to evade the ancient Fiend Celestial's pouncing attack. His earthy divine halo surged as a series of flawless, translucent jade balls suddenly appeared behind him before spreading out in a fan shape. "Also, I don't agree with what you said." A smile appeared on the ancient Fiend Celestial's face at the sight of the human male. A voice full of divinity reverberated in its ears. "Because this next state is my strongest state." Chapter 1771. A paramount mountain divine halo hovered above Lin's head, exuding a godly aura that forced all things to submit to him. There were 3 flawless white pieces of jade around his body, all of which were exuding dazzling light. The ancient Fiend Celestial's unease stemmed from those 3 pieces of white jade. One piece of white jade suddenly transformed into a gust of wind that blew for thousands of kilometers before converging upon the jade, transforming it into the paramount wind between heaven and earth. A piece of white jade transformed into a golden ball of lightning. The golden lightning seemed as if it wanted to split apart everything, tear everything apart. As soon as it appeared, tens of thousands of lightning bolts rumbled in the sky, as if celebrating the birth of a supreme king. Another piece of white jade transformed into a red metallic material, and all of the weapons on the ancient battlefield began to tremor and vibrate as they welcomed the arrival of the ruler of all weapons. Each and every one of these Tao jades struck the ancient Fiend Celestial with an extremely unsettling feeling. The ancient Fiend Celestial could sense the exact same aura as the one being released by the divine halo from all of these pieces of jade. This was a paramount power of laws and authority that reigned supreme over this entire world. One such power was already giving him a massive headache, but now 3 more had appeared. Even though their auras appeared to be slightly weaker than the divine halo above his head, they were still top-tier powers. Ancient Fiend Celestial, let me show you just how evenly matched we are. Lin waved a hand through the air, and the divine halo and Tao jades above his head both glowed with scintillating light. The ancient Fiend Celestial was struck by a sense of lethal peril, and his inky green devilish essence power erupted from his body again before pouncing toward Lin. This was a power that could pierce through the essence of Tao, and it could even temporarily disregard space. Hence, from Lin's perspective, it looked as if he had reached him in the blink of an eye. Die! The ancient Fiend Celestial's claws were imbued with devilish essence power, and they transformed into heaven-severing demonic blades that descended upon Lin at an extremely fast speed. Lin didn't do anything, but the divine halo above his head glowed with scintillating light as a suit of earthy armor appeared over his body. When the might was released, the true meaning was as thick and heavy as a towering mountain that reached the heavens. The ancient Fiend Celestial's claw crashed into the mountain, but even though it was extremely powerful, it was unable to completely destroy the mountain. All it did was crack open the earthy yellow armor around Lin's body. At this time, Lin's lightning Tao jade suddenly flashed. A bolt of golden void lightning pierced through space before striking the ancient Fien Celestial's body, puncturing his protective demonic essential power before blasting a massive hole into his heart. This was a flaw that Enlin had discovered during his battle with the ancient Fiend Celestial. The ancient Fien Celestial's control over his demonic essential power was actually still very rusty. When he used his demonic essential power to attack, the defensive demonic essential power would become extremely weak, and that was the perfect time to attack. Almost at the same time, the metal Dao Jade flashed with red light. A crimson piece of metal suddenly appeared in the air. This was a material that even the ancient Fiend Celestial had never seen before. This material was more fearsome than any metal that he had ever seen before. The metal was imbued with the power of laws, and it tore through the ancient Fien Celestial's demonic essential power before crashing down upon his head. If everything went according to plan, the ancient Fiend Celestial would be sliced in half. However, the ancient Fiend Celestial reacted in the end, and he raised his left arm in front of his head in this dire situation. The crimson blade tore through the demonic essential energy before striking the ancient Fien Celestial's arm, but it was slowed down by the arm's resistance. The ancient Fiend Celestial had already retreated to avoid being sliced in half when the crimson blade completely sliced through his arm. However, before he had a chance to do anything else, the power unleashed by the wind Dao Jade crashed down from the sky. This was boundless wind pressure that was omnipresent, and the earth instantly caved in for several hundred meters. The ancient Fiend Celestial had no way of evading, and he was slammed into the ground as all of his internal organs were pulverized by the extreme wind pressure. The ancient Fiend Celestial had only just begun their battle, and he was immediately made aware of the disparity between him and Enlin. In this state, Enlin was able to use 4 different powers of the heavenly gods at once. He felt as if he were facing 4 Enlins at once, and the ancient Fien Celestial's claim that he had a 50-50 chance of victory was nothing more than a joke. He only had a 50-50 chance of victory against one of the ancient Fiend Celestials. But now there were 4 Enlins in the distance. The Pegasus True Demon, the Demonic Maiden, and the Holy Demon were waiting for the ancient Fiend Celestial to take care of Enlin, and expressions of incredulity appeared on their faces upon seeing the ancient Fiend Celestial being suppressed by Enlin. How could this be? The ancient Fiend Celestial has already unleashed his demonic essential power. That's the paramount power of the demon tribe. Why is he still being suppressed by that human? That's impossible. The Pegasus True Demon's teeth chattered. Just who is this human cultivator? What kind of power did he use? Mog, who had turned into a pool of blood, asked while trembling. Not only were the enemies in shock and disbelief, but even his teammates were also given a fright. Black Spirit Snake and the others had thought that Enlin had already unleashed all of his power when he was crushing the 3 Dao integration stage super mighty figures. Who would have thought that he would still have trump cards up his sleeves? Isn't this the equivalent of 4 heavenly gods fighting a half-step god of creation stage true demon? Lu Qianhuan suddenly felt like the ancient Fiend Celestial had been through a lot. He had finally managed to use his demonic essential power to take care of Enlin's physical body and Enlin's consciousness, but now, Enlin had summoned 3 heavenly god jades, thereby elevating the situation to 4 against 1. The ancient Fiend Celestial was in complete despair. It had clearly already brought out its most powerful trump card, but Enlin also had a trump card, and he was being pummeled by Enlin as soon as he revealed his trump card. Roar. You forced me to do this. I'm going to show you how I killed the Spirit Patriarch. A deranged expression appeared on the ancient Fien Celestial's face, and he pressed his hands against the ground to support his battered body. In the sky above, the wind Dao Jade continued to rotate rapidly, and the wind pressure continued. However, the ancient Fiend Celestial managed to stand up under his own power and slowly pulled out a slightly curved bone spike from his storage ring. The bone spike exuded an ethereal aura that did not belong to heaven and earth. It was like a wisp of mist and didn't explode, but it was imbued with irresistible power. Even the wind pressure created by Enlin's heavenly god of wind faltered slightly in the face of this aura. The Pegasus true demon in the distance had also sensed the changes taking place on Enlin's battlefield. An expression of shock and panic appeared on its face at the sight of the bone spike in the ancient Fiend Celestial's hand. Master Ancient Fiend Celestial, please calm down. Using the primordial bone spike right now will result in severe backlash to your consciousness and Tao Foundation. You're in a critical juncture of God creation, so you can't use it no matter what. I don't have time to worry about that. If I want to kill Enlin, I have to use this weapon. The ancient Fiend Celestial's essential power and the power within his body began to flow into the bone spike like a tidal wave. His muscles quickly withered, but his eyes were bloodshot as a crazed expression appeared on his face. I just want him to die. A sense of peril welled up in Enlin's heart again. This sense of peril was even more pronounced than when the ancient Fiend Celestial unleashed his demonic origin energy. The spine-like bone spike was originally translucent and spotlessly white, but after the ancient Fiend Celestial injected his Genesis chi and power into it, its color began to turn azure, and it began to frantically devour and absorb all of the ancient Fiend Celestial's power, as if it had awakened. The power of the bone spike soared explosively once again, and the wind pressure was kept at bay by an invisible force field within a radius of 10 feet from the ancient Fiend Celestial. Enlin's heart throbbed with fear upon seeing this. I can't let myself be struck by that strange bone spike. This was his body. It was his most instinctive intuition that emerged from the unseen world. Chapter 1772. The bone spike had turned into a dark green color and was flashing like a star. Ripples that resembled the beating of a heart surged through the air. This strange bone spike was most likely the key to killing the spirit patriarch. Enlin could sense that the ancient Fiend Celestial's aura had become extremely feeble, as if he had been severely wounded. At the same time, he could sense that the bone spike was becoming more and more powerful, as if it had transformed into a peculiar life form. What happened next confirmed Enlin's suspicions. The bone spike let loose a cry of contentment that was close to a moan. What a delicious power! Not only is it imbued with pure essential power, but it also contains the power of Tao and bloodline that I like very much. You've successfully satisfied my wish, and now I can satisfy your wish as well. Tell me, what do you want me to do? A clear male voice sounded from the bone spike. Judging from the voice, this man was quite young, but his voice was imbued with a power that transcended beyond this world and was imbued with an immortal and eternal power. The ancient Fiend Celestial's voice was a little feeble and a little insane. I need you, boom, boom, boom. In the sky above, massive mountains crashed down, gale-force winds howled, swords fell like rain, and lightning crackled. 4 paramount powers of the heavenly gods erupted at the same time before crashing down upon the ancient Fiend Celestial. Enlin wasn't going to give them a chance to chat. He took this opportunity to unleash a barrage of attack. Unleashing 4 powers of the heavenly gods at once was extremely taxing on his energy reserves, but this was the most powerful attack he had unleashed thus far, and he could insta-kill any being at the Tao integration pinnacle stage. Even the ancient Fiend Celestial wouldn't be able to withstand this attack. Whoosh! A streak of azure light tore through Enlin's barrage of 4 powers of the heavenly gods at this moment. The ancient Fiend Celestial rose into the sky with the dark green bone spike in his hand. His body was riddled with wounds from being struck by the powers of the heavenly gods, and his aura was also extremely feeble. As opposed to saying that he was attacking Enlin, it was more accurate to say that the bone spike was dragging the ancient Fiend Celestial's body toward Enlin. Interesting. This is the power of the heavenly Tao, and it's the power of the main heavenly Tao. But you're a human. The male voice sounded from within the bone spike with excitement and hunger. Enlin's expression changed slightly, and his heart sank. This bone spike was not to be underestimated. It was clear that it had never seen a heavenly god before, but it was able to accurately identify the source of Enlin's power after just one spell technique was unleashed. In the blink of an eye, the bone spike had already pierced towards him. Enlin's eyes narrowed. As he retreated, a wind barrier that could isolate all things appeared in front of him. Break! The tip of the bone spear emitted a strange power that even Enlin couldn't understand. It shattered the supreme laws and pierced through the wind barrier. At this moment, Enlin was using his golden void lightning to construct a lightning shield that could annihilate all things that trespassed upon it. The bone spur ignored him and continued to tear, then suddenly thrust forward. The ancient fiend celestial was in trouble now. The bone spur only knew how to attack, and it only wanted to stab Enlin to death. As such, it didn't have any defensive measures in place, and the ancient fiend celestial was instantly charred black by the surrounding lightning. At this moment, the metal barrier had already been constructed, and Enlin immediately diverted some of his power toward the ancient fiend celestial upon seeing this. The bone spur also tore the metal barrier in half. In that instant, there was no power that could keep the bone spur at bay. However, in the instant that the metal barrier was torn apart, it quickly healed itself. The metal was like a blade that was aimed at the ancient fiend celestial, who was holding the bone spur in his hand. The ancient fiend celestial's heart jolted with shock, and he tried to stop Enlin, only to discover that his body was no longer under his control. No! Crack! The metal barrier closed. Half of the ancient fiend celestial's body was in front of the metal barrier, while the other half was behind the metal barrier. The body behind the metal barrier was still being dragged by the bone spur toward Enlin with no regard for its own safety. Blood trickled from the corners of the ancient fiend celestial's lips, and he instantly ran out of blood. Die! 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 I'll fulfill your wish and kill this human. Then I'll eat him. The bone spur's voice was tinged with greed as it dragged the ancient fiend celestial's body toward Enlin like a rag doll. Enlin was astonished. The ancient fiend celestial was already in such a sorry state, but the bone spur was still able to attack? Master ancient fiend celestial! The heavenly horse roared with grief and indignation. Enlin! Su Xiaolan's heart was in her throat upon seeing this. Whoosh! The bone spur tore through Enlin's armor of mountain, but it didn't slow down by much. Even the powers of wind, lightning, metal, and mountain were unable to keep the bone spur at bay. The dark green blade continued onward toward Enlin's heart with unstoppable force. Enlin was struck by an unprecedented sense of crisis. He knew that if he were to be struck by this attack, he would be in grave danger even with his God of Creation stage life force. It's over. The bone spur hurtled toward Enlin's heart. Right at this moment, an inky black object appeared before it. Idiot! There's nothing in this world that can stop my attack. The bone spur chuckled coldly before stabbing viciously toward the inky black object. Crack, 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 a sharp screeching sound erupted. When the bone spur struck the inky black object, the bone spur shuddered violently before bending at an exaggerated angle, as if it were about to snap its own bones. What's that thing? An incredulous voice sounded from within the bone spur. Its unstoppable momentum had been stopped. The thing that had stopped it was none other than the inky black brick. An enormous repulsive force erupted from the brick, sending Enlin flying through the air. However, no matter how hard the bone spur tried, it was unable to pierce through this mundane object. Impossible, impossible, impossible! There can't be anything in this world that's more powerful than me. The bone spur was unable to accept this situation. An expression of confusion appeared on the ancient fiend celestial's face. In his memory, the bone spur could even break through the spirit patriarch's defenses, so why couldn't it pierce through this brick? Furthermore, this was a brick that had no energy fluctuations whatsoever. It was as if he had picked up a random rock from the side of the road and blocked the attack of a being that was even more powerful than a god of creation stage being. Glug glug glug. The bone spur frantically engulfed the ancient Fiend Celestial's power, and its power swelled explosively again as it stabbed the brick in a frenzy, pushing it for over 50 kilometers, but it was still unable to pierce through it. Ah! Stop sucking. The ancient Fiend Celestial was extremely emaciated, and he wanted to stop his spell technique and withdraw the bone spur. However, the bone spur had its own thoughts, and it refused the ancient Fiend Celestial's request before yelling at Enlin, "This human cultivator must die." The bone spur circled around in the air before stabbing toward Enlin from the side. Enlin reacted extremely quickly, and he hurtled to the side with the brick in his hand. Block! Bam! Energy exploded forth. The bone spur bent at an exaggerated angle again, but it was still unable to pierce through the brick. The bone spur had gone berserk, and it kept changing its angle to stab toward Enlin. I block, I block, I block. Enlin adjusted the direction of his brick over and over again to block all of the bone spike. Even though the bone spur's offensive prowess was unfathomable, its attacks were very simple, and Enlin's reaction speed was also quite fast, so the bone spur was completely unable to do anything to him. The first spurt of energy, the second decline, the third exhaustion. The bone spur had unleashed over 100 attacks at once, but it was still full of fighting spirit. However, the ancient Fiend Celestial was on the brink of death. Stop! A hoarse, beseeching voice sounded. The ancient Fiend Celestial only had half of his body remaining, and tears flowed down his face as he begged for his life. Chapter 1773. The ancient Fiend Celestial was truly regretting his decision. He didn't think that Enlin would be so difficult to kill. He had thought that Enlin would be dead after just a single stab, but he was still alive and kicking even after over 100 stabs. If he continued like this, he would definitely die from exhaustion even if Enlin didn't die. The bone spike's energy source was him, and as the bone spike continued to attack, its energy was constantly being depleted. Now that his body had been completely depleted, if the bone spike didn't give up, he would definitely die from exhaustion. The ancient Fiend Celestial had already yelled for the bone spike to stop. However, the bone spike's killing intent surged, and it still wanted to use Enlin's blood to prove itself. What kind of despair would it feel to be exhausted to death by one's own weapon? Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the bone spikes slashed through the air in a series of tricky trajectories toward Enlin. Enlin was filled with a sense of security as he held the brick. Block, block, block. The chaotic alloy brick really lived up to its description, the hardest brick in the world. The bone spike could break through its power of the heavenly gods, but it couldn't break through its brick. The brick maintained its usual style of being low-key, reserved, and heavy. It was pitch black and reserved, shocking the world with a single brilliant feat. It had once again proven itself to be the hardest brick in the world. Roar! Let go of Master Ancient Fiend Celestial. The heavenly horse finally couldn't take this any longer, and it unleashed its star demon liquid toward the bone spike. However, the white liquid that could easily repel attacks from mighty figures at the Tao integration pinnacle stage was easily torn apart by the spear, as if it were tearing through a piece of cheese. It then continued toward Enlin. Bam! 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 One earth-shattering collision after another. One unstoppable assassination attempt after another. All of them were kept at bay by the mundane-looking black brick. I hate you. The ancient Fiend Celestial's voice became softer and softer with grief and indignation. Fear appeared in his eyes. This was the fear of death. Never would he have thought that the one who would force him into a corner was not Enlin. Instead, it was his final trump card, the primordial bone spike. Die! The bone spear released a green light that was as bright as a rainbow, drawing a dazzling trajectory in the void. Bam! The bone spike once again stabbed into Enlin's black brick. This time, I will definitely pierce through you. The spine-like bone spur roared angrily, and actually began to spin in a spiral, like a drilling machine, madly drilling. The penetrative power of the brick began to increase significantly, and for the first time, the black brick let out a whimpering sound. And Lin's expression changed drastically. He could feel the killing power contained within the bone spear. Is it really okay? The ancient fiend celestial? And Lin asked with a concerned expression. The bone spur continued to spiral in a frenzy, and the ancient fiend celestial was naturally unable to shake it off. The mournful moans that floated in the air made the onlookers silent and the listeners weep. It's working, it's finally working. I can pierce through it, the bone spur said excitedly. And Lin had a master-servant relationship with the black brick, so he was naturally able to sense that the black brick had been damaged. This caused his heart to tremble violently. The black brick, which had always been the hardest in the world, had actually been damaged by a bone? He was surprised that the black brick could block Bonehead's attack. He was also surprised that the black brick couldn't block Bonehead's attack. And Lin's mind raced as he tried to think of another way to combat this enemy. All of a sudden, heaven and earth tremored violently. Cries of grief erupted throughout heaven and earth. An indescribable sense of grief welled up in everyone's hearts. Heaven and earth mourned the death of a Tao integration stage super mighty figure. Another Tao integration stage super mighty figure had fallen. Who died? Su Xiaolan was given a fright. Which holy demon died? Lu Qianhuan continued to evade the star demon liquid as she surveyed the battlefield, only to find that the holy demon was still struggling with the assistance of the star demon liquid. All of the enemy powerful beings were also perplexed as they surveyed the battlefield. No Tao integration stage super mighty figure had fallen on this battlefield. However, a thought soon welled up in everyone's mind. All of the enemy powerful beings were horrified, and all of their allies were astonished. The bone spur's anguished wail also sounded. Ah! Why is it out of energy? The bone spike that was spinning suddenly stopped and then fell from the sky. Only half of its body remained, and it fell feebly to the ground like a rag. This was the ancient Fiend Celestial's body. His eyes were still wide open, and they were filled with remorse, pain, and indignation. His vitality had already disappeared. Everyone finally came to a realization. The one who had died was the ancient Fiend Celestial. Furthermore, it was so tragic. He actually died with his eyes wide open. Master Ancient Fiend Celestial. The heavenly horse roared with grief, and the star demon liquid around its body instantly exploded, sweeping up massive white waves that engulfed everything between heaven and earth. Black Spirit Snake, Lu Mingxian, and Lu Qianhuan all hurtled back in retreat. A red figure charged toward the ancient Fiend Celestial without any regard for its own safety before cradling his plummeting body in her arms. The red figure had a slender figure, and her features were deathly pale. It was none other than the demonic maiden, who was riddled with wounds and had an extremely feeble aura. No. Ancient Fiend Celestial, you'll be fine. There's no way you'll lose. You still have to rule over the entire demon tribe. You still have to take revenge on Cyril. Wake up. Tears of blood flowed from the demonic maiden's eyes as she wailed with anguish. However, there was no response no matter how hard she screamed. The ancient Fiend Celestial's expression of indignation and remorse was the only response she received. Soon, another anguished wail sounded. Heaven and earth wailed with grief again as another holy demon fell to Su Xiaolan's sword. The death of the ancient Fiend Celestial was a lethal blow to the true demons. All of the holy demons were loyal to the ancient Fiend Celestial, and now that their master had died, they had lost their pillar of support. All of their Tao hearts were either driven insane or completely drained of their will to fight. Soon, another holy demon fell to White Spirit Snake's hands. The final holy demon was also slain by Su Xiaolan. Su Xiaolan had completed a double kill. Only the heavenly horse and the demonic maiden remained on the battlefield. See you in the next life, ancient fiend celestial. The demonic maiden stared at the man in her arms with deep emotion before stabbing a hand into her own heart. She let loose a muffled groan as her body gradually disintegrated into a puddle of blood, as if it had been mortally wounded. At the same time, the ancient fiend celestial's body also melted into specks of dark green light that floated into the sky before disappearing. The heavenly horse had fallen into a state of mental breakdown, and it tried to take Black Spirit Snake and the others down with it. However, their opponents were already prepared, and the star demon Liquid was unable to capture any of them. In the end, the heavenly horse's energy was completely depleted, and Black Spirit Snake took advantage of this opportunity to slice it into over 10,000 pieces. 6 Tao integration stage super mighty figures had fallen in quick succession. The divine Tao had been obliterated, and the grief of heaven and earth expanded over and over again until it enshrouded the entire spirit realm. And Lin sighed with emotion as he looked at the fallen super mighty figures. He didn't think that a powerful opponent like the ancient fiend celestial would die like this. Life and death really were unpredictable. If it weren't for those bone spikes, I probably wouldn't have been able to win so easily. And Lin sighed with emotion before turning his gaze toward the bone that lay silently on the ground. Chapter 1774. This strange bone was the ancient fiend celestial's most powerful trump card. However, it was Lin's best ally in this battle. In fact, it could be said that the ancient fiend celestial had actually been sucked to death by it, and Lin stared at the spine-like bone on the ground with a cautious expression before slowly approaching it with the black brick in his hand. Even though the bone's avatar was dead, it was still extremely dangerous. Perhaps it would jump up from the ground and stab him. The dark green energy quickly dissipated. The bone reverted back to its pristine white state without any energy fluctuations emanating from it. And Lin carefully inspected the bone on the ground. Its structure was extremely intricate, and its surface was as flawless as white jade. One could immediately sense its perfection and the ethereal feeling that it had transcended the great Tao of heaven and earth. He had seen the corpses of countless powerful beings. He had even seen the corpses of God of Creation stage beings like the Blood Patriarch and the Spirit Patriarch. However, he couldn't sense a sense of transcendence from this bone. The more I look at it, the more extraordinary it seems. And Lin gulped. After thinking for a moment, he materialized a massive vital energy hand before grabbing the bone from afar. The bone tremored lightly, and an ancient, seductive voice sounded beside Lin's ear. Fated One, do you have a wish? Do you want to fulfill it? If you give me your power, I can fulfill your wish. Lin grimaced. What's with this Chunibu demeanor? He was clearly such a cool bone, so why didn't he do something that would lower his cool? He looked at the bone and didn't reply. The bone began to tempt him again. Do you have someone you hate? Or an enemy you can't defeat? I can take care of them for you. Accept me and offer yourself to me. After that, I'll fulfill your wish. What's your name? Lin asked. Is that what you wish for? You want to know my name? The bone was full of temptation. Then offer your power to me. I'll satisfy you, and I'll satisfy you. Lin, was there something wrong with this bone? Did he go crazy from wanting to devour power? Didn't he know that he had just emptied a half-step Genesis stage being? Lin, what's going on with this bone? Su Xiaolan flew over from afar and looked at the bone in front of Lin with apprehension. She had witnessed just how uncanny and terrifying this bone was, and she felt like it was best to stay away from it. Otherwise, she could end up like the ancient fiend celestial. Lu Mingxian also flew over. His cold face was filled with seriousness. Fellow Taoist Lin, you have to be careful of this bone. It's not as simple as just using it as a spear to stab people. I can sense that its sharpness is only one of its characteristics. White Spirit Snake also descended from the sky. Furthermore, this is the essential Tao bone left behind by a life form, and it's a life form of a very high level, so high that I'm unable to detect it. My level is indeed very high, which is why I can satisfy all of your wishes. The bone seemed to be able to communicate with others, and it continued to tempt everyone around it. And Lin heaved a faint sigh. So be it. I'll just use hacks. His eyes became pure white as he analyzed everything between heaven and earth. Divine inspection technique. A string of information appeared in his mind, and his heart skipped a beat. Essential Tao bone of the heavenly true immortal. The essential Tao bone condensed from the remains of the heavenly true immortal. The explanation was very simple, with only one sentence. However, the simpler the information, the more terrifying it was. This meant that even with the ability of the system, it was unable to detect anything else. However, what made Lin's heart skip a beat wasn't the fact that the information was too short. Instead, it was the fact that the information contained the essential Tao bone of the heavenly true immortal. He couldn't help but turn his attention to a mission on his system. High-rank war god mystic technique. Dark immortal transformation. Obtain the essential skeleton of the heavenly true immortal. Wasn't that the essential skeleton of the heavenly true immortal right before his eyes? He had thought that the clues leading to the heavenly true immortal were in the ancient Tai Chu realm, and he would have to make a trip to the ancient Tai Chu realm in person in order to have a sliver of hope of finding the clue. This was a mission that was almost impossible for Lin to complete. However, to his surprise, the essential Tao bone appeared before him on its own before he even had a chance to find the essential skeleton. The essential Tao bone was a type of essential skeleton. It was an essential skeleton that contained the Tao realm of the main body, and it was of a higher level than the essential skeleton. It could be said that Lin had exceeded his expectations this time. The Dark Immortal Transformation, a high-rank war god mystic technique. One had to realize that the origin energy of the netherworld was only an intermediate-rank war god mystic technique, but it was already extremely useful and insane. It was the most powerful buff spell technique available. Now, the Dark Immortal Transformation was a high-rank war god mystic technique. If he could obtain it, how much more powerful would he become? Lin's breathing began to accelerate as he looked at the bone. This was a blessing from the heavens. His luck was too good. Lin, what's wrong? Su Xiaolan was given a fright upon seeing Lin's eyes glowing with a green light, as if he were a hungry dog staring at a bone. Everyone was also looking at Lin with bewilderment on their faces. The bone didn't have a body, but it still felt a chill run down its spine. What do you want to do? Do you have a wish? The bone was very professional, and was still trying to tempt him. I do have a wish. Lin suddenly chuckled. The bone heaved a faint sigh of relief. Give me your power. As long as you can satisfy my wish. There's no need for that. Lin cut off the bone's words, and his mouth suddenly gaped open. My wish is to eat you. A vast suction force suddenly erupted from within his mouth. This was an extremely unfathomable suction force. This was the terrifying engulfment spell technique that the little whale in Lin's sea of vital energy had obtained after swallowing the chaotic nightmare monster. This spell technique could even devour a heavenly god. No! The bone wailed in anguish and tried to escape, only to find that it had no power to attach itself to, and it was instantly engulfed by the terrifying mouth before falling into eternal darkness. Burp! Lin closed his mouth with a content expression. Su Xiaolan, Black Spirit Snake, White Spirit Snake, Lu Qianhuan, and Lu Mingxuan's mouths all gaped open in shock as they stared at the man before them. This was a bone that everyone had been avoiding as if it were a venomous scorpion. This was a bone that everyone, including Lin, was extremely wary of, but now it was suddenly eaten by Lin? Lin, why have you gone insane? Lu Qianhuan's eyes widened with excitement. Su Xiaolan was also a little taken aback. Why did you eat it? Are you all right? I'm fine. And Lin looked toward his system with an excited expression, only to be rooted to the spot. The system didn't notify him of mission completion. Chapter 1775. What was going on? He had clearly already consumed the essential Tao bone of the heavenly true immortal. And Lin was completely perplexed. At this moment, a sharp pain suddenly erupted from his stomach. Ow, 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 ow. And Lin gripped his stomach as he wailed in pain. Su Xiaolan and the others were given a huge fright by this turn of events. And Lin, hurry up and spit out the bone, Su Xiaolan urged in a panicked voice. I told you not to eat random things. Are you that greedy? Black Spirit Snake pursed her lips. Everyone hurriedly unleashed their powers to survey An Lin's body, only to find that there was no bone within his body. Where's the bone? White Spirit Snake's expression shifted. An Lin gripped his stomach. It's in my sea of vital energy. I feel like I'm having indigestion. The pain in my sea of vital energy is spreading into my stomach, and it feels so awful. Everyone drew a sharp intake of breath. Did I hear that right? Bones can be stored in one's sea of vital energy? Lu Mingxian was astonished. I knew that there was a Kirin baby named An Lin in An Lin's sea of vital energy, but who would have thought that he could store bones as well? Lu Qianhuan clicked her tongue in wonder. It's not just a Kirin baby. There's a phoenix and a little whale in his sea of vital energy as well. Su Xiaolan heaved a forlorn sigh. Black Spirit Snake, Lu Mingxian, and the others were all astonished. Say, Senior An Lin, how are you feeling now? White Spirit Snake couldn't help but ask with concern after a brief moment of astonishment. An Lin was still gripping his stomach with a pained expression as he shook his head. The bone is too powerful, and my sea of vital energy is unable to repress it, which is why my body is rejecting it. What do we do then? Su Xiaolan supported An Lin with a concerned expression. It's all right. An Lin shook his head with a ferocious expression. I can repress it. At this moment, an earth-shattering battle was taking place within his sea of vital energy. An arrogant and unruly bone flew back and forth in the Qi Sea, trying to pierce through this space. Although it hadn't received An Lin's acknowledgement, it was still able to forcefully absorb a small amount of energy from his Qi Sea and infuse it into his bones, then wreak havoc everywhere. It even wanted to pierce through the sun hanging in the Qi Sea. The sun was the most important thing for An Lin's advancement. How could An Lin tolerate such a scene? He immediately issued an order for An Kirin, the holy flame vermilion bird, and the little whale to join forces and subdue this annoying piece of sh*t. Just like that, a great battle broke out. Thunder rumbled, sacred flames surged, and the giant mouth opened wide. Even though the bone spikes were extremely powerful, An Kirin possessed the essence of lightning, the holy flame vermilion bird possessed the essence of fire, and the little whale was extremely proficient in the Tao of void and engulfment. Their combined strength was not inferior to boneheads. Most importantly, they could be reborn in An Lin's Qi Sea, so they had plenty of time to waste on the bones. His sea of Qi surged and rumbled. An Lin wasn't having a good time either. The sharp tip of the bone really did seem like it was trying to pierce through the space around him. This was not an exaggeration. He could tell from the small dent on the black brick in his hand that the bone could do this. He immediately sat down to meditate and focused his attention on his sea of vital energy. Su Xiaolan and the others knew that An Lin was struggling with the bone in his sea of vital energy, so they stood guard and guarded him. White Spirit Snake seemed to have detected something good, and she dragged Black Spirit Snake to another place. In the next instant, they returned in high spirits with a trembling little blue star in their hands. Look what we picked up. White Spirit Snake grinned. A ball. Su Xiaolan's eyes lit up. How surprising! Why didn't it run away when no one was looking after it? This ball was none other than the shrunken demonic frost star. The demonic frost star was on the verge of tears upon seeing everyone's expressions. Do you think I didn't want to run away? I finally managed to escape. only to be captured by the ancient fiend celestial, who forced me to become his steed. He even placed me nearby and used a restriction to bind me. The ancient fiend celestial died, but the restriction wasn't removed, and you discovered it. The demonic frost star turned to Enlin with a hint of fear in its eyes as it spoke. Enlin's power was simply far too freakish. To think that he could even slay the ancient fiend celestial. If Enlin was displeased with his decision to flee, then he would definitely suffer an extremely tragic fate. With this in mind, it immediately made a decision and crawled over to Enlin with a fawning expression on its face. Big Boss Enlin, I've been completely won over by your power and charisma ever since I met you. Please give me a chance to follow you. It was most likely impossible for Enlin to let go of this runaway star. In order to avoid a situation where Enlin was displeased with him and decided to kill him as well, it was better to take a step back and express its loyalty so that Enlin would have a good impression of it. Enlin was clearly taken aback upon hearing this. Why did this star suddenly want to follow him? You will want to follow me? Why should I accept you? Enlin asked. The demonic frost star was still in a daze. Wasn't it extremely prestigious to have a Tao integration stage super mighty figure as its follower? Why was he asking why? The ancient fiend celestial has foreseen my future. I'm going to grow very, very big in the future, and I'm going to become a huge star. If you use me as your steed and conquer other worlds while standing on my back, wouldn't that be a great honor? The demonic frost star brought up the ancient fiend celestial's desire to ride it. Everyone was astonished. Is he King retarded? Only an idiot would ride a star. That's not the point. The point is, how am I supposed to ride such a huge star? My butt is about to crack. You're trying to convince me with a reason like this? Do you think I'm an idiot? The demonic frost star is most likely an idiot, so don't accept it. The demonic frost star, was there something wrong with this? It was a Tao integration intermediate stage super mighty figure, and it wanted to follow Enlin, only to be humiliated like this? The demonic frost star was enraged. You can kill this star, but you can't. All of a sudden, a series of sharp eyes focused on it. The demonic frost star choked halfway through its sentence, and it looked at everyone with an aggrieved and indignant expression. It was afraid that it would really become a star that could be killed, but not humiliated, after it finished its sentence. There's actually one good thing about it, Su Xiaolan suddenly said. The demonic frost star shuddered, and it turned to Su Xiaolan with gratitude etched on its face. See, there were still people who could recognize it. What good thing? Enlin asked. The demonic frost star straightened its body with a hint of pride and curiosity in its eyes. Su Xiaolan explained, this thing is a little stupid and afraid of death, so it should be more obedient and easy to control after pledging its loyalty to you. That's a good thing. Boom. The demonic frost star felt as if it had been struck by lightning, and it almost threw up a mouthful of earth core. Enlin's eyes lit up. Chapter 1776. That's a good thing. Enlin nodded slightly and said, I was initially planning to kill you and end this once and for all. However, if you really want to follow me, I can give you a chance. The demonic frost star was on the verge of a mental breakdown. Never would it have thought that it would be able to survive only because it was stupid and cowardly enough. It was a mighty star with the universe in its heart. Its intelligence alone was enough to crush countless stars in the starry sky, but there was someone looking down on its intelligence now? How about this? Establish a slave contract with me and become my servant. Enlin nodded. A contract? The demonic frost star shuddered. No **T. You're a void spirit tribe super mighty figure. How are you going to be safe without a contract? Enlin spoke with a serious expression. He had already thought it through. After putting away the demonic frost star, he was going to give it to Bai Ling and Su Xiaolan to train before officially using it. Thinking about it, he didn't have a star-type pet yet, so he wanted one now. Then, the demonic frost star's heart was in turmoil. Unlin was very powerful and had limitless potential, but the human race was currently being targeted by the heavenly human tribe and the heavenly gods. If he were to join a race that would be doomed sooner or later and oppose the heavenly Tao and the void spirit tribe, if he were to fail, his fate would definitely be even more miserable than it was now. Have you made up your mind? I don't have much patience. Unlin looked at the little star with an intrigued expression. I agree. The demonic frost star took a deep breath before replying with a serious expression. It had already made up its mind. It was going to live as long as it could. No one could predict what the future would bring. The most important thing was to live in the present. The demonic frost star was moved by its own optimism, and it flew toward Unlin with an expression that seemed to have seen through everything in this world. Come, Master Unlin. Unlin was a little surprised. They hadn't even established a contract, but it was already referring to him as Master. It looked like this little bee asterisk starred was quite tactful. Immediately afterward, Unlin dripped a drop of blood essence onto the demonic frost star's body. A mysterious connection was established between the man and the ball. The demonic frost star had officially become Unlin's servant. Very good, you're my ball from now on. A satisfied expression appeared on Unlin's face as he picked up the demonic frost star and kneaded it affectionately. It was a little cold, as if he was squeezing a rough ice ball. The demonic frost star had also resigned itself to its fate. Not only was it not enraged by Unlin's words, it even offered a fawning expression. It is my greatest fortune to be able to follow Master Unlin. Unlin nodded in satisfaction. Since it's my ball, I'll give you a nice name. Sure. The demonic frost star was extremely elated. This meant that Unlin's recognition of it was one step closer, because a name could shorten the distance between them. You are a very rare planetary life form. You are extremely cold, mysterious, and intelligent. Why don't I call you? Unlin thought about it carefully. The demonic frost star raised its guard. Unlin's eyes lit up. I'll call you Little Star. Everyone suddenly fell silent. Pfft! Su Xiaolan couldn't help but burst into laughter. The demonic frost star, what the hell? Didn't you hear me? I'll call you Little Star. Unlin enunciated each word carefully. Me? Little Star? The demonic frost star's body trembled violently, and smoke rose from the volcanoes around its body as if they were about to erupt at any moment. It glared at Unlin, and it accidentally made eye contact with Unlin. Finally it said, "All right. That's a good name." The word little in the name Little Star fully expresses the nostalgia for the old days, as well as the longing for the future. The word star is even simpler, encompassing all the stars within it. It indicates the limitless possibilities of my development on the path of stars. What a wonderful name! Unlin blushed. It's not that good. It's that good. The demonic frost star was extremely excited. Unlin turned to Su Xiaolan, Black Spirit Snake, and the others. I don't think Little Star is as dumb as you make it out to be. Everyone. After putting away Little Star, Unlin entered a meditative state again. His stomach didn't hurt as much anymore. Perhaps it was because the essential Tao bone in his sea of vital energy had focused all of its energy on attacking Kiran, the holy flame vermilion bird, and the little whale. The tide of the battle had already turned. The bone spike in his spine was gradually being overwhelmed, and it switched from defense to offense. Bolts of terrifying lightning crashed into the bone spike. Scorching holy flames burned the bone spike without causing it any pain. Vast spatial power twisted and distorted the bone spike in a frenzy. Attack after attack, wear and tear after wear and tear, the bone spur began to be unable to endure. The bone spike began to speak in an extremely seductive voice. You're all pitiful beings who have been trapped in your sea of vital energy. Don't you want to see the outside world? Boom, 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 boom. And Kirin, the holy flame vermilion bird, and the little whale didn't say anything as they continued to pummel the bone spike. Let's end this meaningless battle. As long as you grant me your power, I can break open your sea of vital energy and grant you eternal freedom. The bone spike spoke with difficulty. Boom, 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 and Kirin, the holy flame vermilion bird, and the little whale continued to pummel the bone spike. The outside world is much more vast than this sea of vital energy. It's very, very big, and there are all types of fun things to do. Don't you want to see the outside world? The bone spike's body trembled violently as it spoke in a loud voice. Boom, boom, boom. The three powerful beings of the sea of vital energy continued to bombard the bone spike. Katja, the translucent surface of the bone spike, was suddenly shattered by Kirin. The translucent bone shard was sucked into the sea of vital energy by a peculiar power. The bone spike faltered initially before its body trembled violently, as if it had encountered something extremely infuriating. Stupid C** NT. Are you all stupid C** NTS? Huh. Boom, 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 lightning fell, holy flames swept forth, and space twisted and warped. The three powerful beings of the sea of vital energy were having a great time. Ding dong! A chime suddenly sounded in Enlin's mind. Enlin was ecstatic, and he abruptly opened his system. Sure enough, there was progress on the high-rank mystical technique Dark Immortal Transformation mission. Consume the essential remains of a heavenly true immortal. Mission progress, 1 out of 100. He had been paying close attention to his sea of vital energy this entire time, and he knew that this was because a portion of the bone spike had been destroyed, which had flowed out of his sea of vital energy and fused into his body. During this process, not only had his system undergone a change, but his body had also undergone a change. A series of crackling sounds erupted as the bones in his body underwent an indescribable transformation. His bones became more compact, and their structure also underwent a miraculous transformation as they were fine-tuned to a state that was most suitable for his current power level. The energy imbued within them became purer and more abundant, and they even possessed the ability to rapidly regenerate and become indestructible. All of these changes were not just external changes. They were also metamorphosing at the genetic level, the life level, and the Tao realm level. He felt like once he completely absorbed the essence of the bone, not only would he be able to obtain the Dark Immortal Transformation spell technique, but he would also be able to elevate his body to new heights. After a while, Enlin opened his bright eyes and stood up. It's done. Let's get out of this *T2I place. Chapter 1777. Everyone heaved a heavy sigh of relief upon seeing that Enlin was fine. Only 1% of the essential Tao bone had been digested, and according to Enlin's calculations, it would take around 1 to 2 months for the essential Tao bone to be completely digested. In other words, the Dark Immortal Transformation was a high-rank mystic technique for him. Everyone made their way out of the ancient battlefield and began to roam the spirit realm on the demonic frost star. Their objective had changed from treasure hunting to exterminating enemies. The Void Spirit Tribe was one of the Heavenly Human Tribe's subordinate forces, so Enlin and the others decided to take advantage of the opening of the spirit realm to destroy the Void Spirit Tribe. They rampaged through the spirit realm, destroying anyone they encountered. In just a few days, the number of experts they had killed was uncountable. Enlin and the others were invincible in the spirit realm. Even the half-step god of creation stage Ancient Fiend Celestial couldn't stop them, so what powerful being could stand up to them? Unless it was a god of creation, all of them would be nothing more than cannon fodder for Enlin and the others. Within the Dark Wind realm. This was a place where dark winds that could suck away life force blew all year round. Living beings with low cultivation bases wouldn't even be able to last a single breath here before their life force was sucked away by the dark winds, and their bodies would wither and wither to death. At this moment, An intense battle was taking place here. The power of white holy light clashed with relentless soul power, and heaven and earth rumbled as energy exploded forth, almost dispelling the dark winds in the surrounding area. A powerful woman with a pair of white wings on her back was fighting a group of void spirit tribe powerful beings with a golden holy sword in her hand. Her appearance was pure and holy, and her figure was tall and slender. Beneath her white holy dress was a pair of snow-white well-proportioned long legs, and her full chest was gently swaying along with the intense battle. Fine sweat appeared on her fair and tender face, and her heavy expression indicated that she was not in a good situation in this battle. Aside from her, there was also a tall and handsome man with a pair of white wings on his back who was fighting alongside her. Both of them were returned to Void Stage mighty figures, but they were facing a dozen or so powerful Void Spirit Tribe powerful beings, and they could be defeated at any moment. Kukoku. Surely, August, the Dark Wind Plains will be your burial ground. A Void Spirit Tribe returned to Void Stage mighty figure with green flames burning all over his body cackled sinisterly. August sent the two Void Spirit Tribe powerful beings flying with an enraged expression. Spirit King Aohua, I have no intention of fighting with the Void Spirit Tribe. All I want is to find the vital dream divine flower. There's no conflict between us, so why are you forcing me? No, I think you've misunderstood something. Spirit King Aohua pounced toward August as his green flames transformed into a series of ghostly claws that were engraved with mysterious veined patterns. We want to kill you, but it has nothing to do with what you're trying to do. It's all because we think it's fun. Ha 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 indeed. Kill kill kill. I've never tasted the flesh of a Lightwing clan returned to Void Stage mighty figure before. I'm going to reserve that Lightwing clan female's thigh. She's white and tender, so she'll definitely be delicious. All of the Void Spirit Tribe powerful beings chortled with glee. F***CK. Shirley gritted her teeth. What a bunch of lunatics! At this moment, a blue soul saber flashed toward Shirley like a bolt of lightning. Shirley's expression shifted, and she immediately swung her sword to defend herself, only to be knocked flying by the saber. A gash appeared on her snowy white arm. Lunatics? A Void Spirit Tribe mighty figure with the head of a wolf and the body of a ghost licked the blood-stained soul saber in his hand with narrowed eyes. No, we're very clear-headed. We're the saber anyway, and you're the meat on the chopping block. What's wrong with us killing you for fun? Shirley's chest trembled with rage upon hearing this. At this moment, a few Void Spirit Tribe powerful beings pounced toward her again. Shirley and August looked at each other, and both of them could see the intent to retreat in each other's eyes. They had to find an opportunity to escape. Otherwise, they were going to be beaten to death. Right at this moment, the temperature between heaven and earth suddenly plummeted. Frost and ice began to form on the ground. Immediately afterward, a terrifying aura swept toward them. Shirley and August's expressions became even more horrified. This was a Tao Integration Stage Super Mighty figure, and it was a Void Spirit Tribe Tao Integration Stage Super Mighty figure at that. All of the Void Spirit Tribe powerful beings became extremely excited. It's the demonic Frost Star. The demonic Frost Star is here. Ah! Shirley's features turned deathly pale as she looked up at the star that had almost obscured the entire sky. If she had used her trump card, she would still have had a chance to escape. Now that a Tao Integration Intermediate Stage Super Mighty figure had appeared, how was she supposed to escape? An expression of despair appeared on August's face as he heaved a faint sigh. Is this our fate? As expected, venturing into the spirit realm to search for the vital dream divine flower is too dangerous for us. Right at this moment, the massive star had already begun to exhale frosty energy. The frosty energy transformed into an extremely solid sword projection that descended from the sky, as if it were going to destroy heaven and earth. Ha ha! Does the demonic Frost Star want to get involved as well? The demonic Frost Star is here, so this delicacy is naturally going to be yours. Just don't forget to leave some soup for us, hee hee hee. Spirit King Aohuo was still chuckling when he saw the sword projection fall a little off course. Splat! The sword projection pierced into his body, and the terrifying power of frost was disintegrating his consciousness. Did you miss the target, demonic frost star? Spirit King Ao was stared up at the massive star in the sky with a confused expression. Soon, the surrounding void spirit tribe powerful beings also began to wail in anguish. All of the sword projections pierced into their bodies with unerring accuracy. This wasn't a miss, this was an extremely accurate strike. Not only were the void spirit tribe powerful beings in disbelief, but even Shirley and August were completely dumbstruck. They had no idea what the demonic frost star was doing. Demonic frost star? Why? A void spirit tribe mighty figure roared with rage. The deafening voice of the star erupted from the sky. Why do you have to ask so many questions? I'm the blade and you're the meat. Can't I just kill you for fun? All the void spirit tribe powerful beings. Surely. What a familiar phrase. This was like a slap to the face. All the void spirit tribe powerful beings fell amid a wave of grief, indignation, and indignation. Soon, only Shirley and August remained on the battlefield. Gulp! Shirley swallowed as she stared up at the gargantuan creature in the sky with a fearful expression. She was unable to figure out what it was thinking. The ball then began to shrink, and a few extremely familiar figures appeared before Shirley, upon which she was astonished once again. And Lin? And there's Su Xiaolan and Lu Qianhuan? Shirley was even more astonished at the sight of these familiar faces. Even Lu Mingxian, Black Spirit Snake Empress, and White Spirit Snake Empress are here. August drew a sharp intake of breath. What kind of terrifying lineup was this? Hi, long time no see. Lin greeted the two of them with a smile before making his way toward them. It really is you, Lin. Shirley's beautiful eyes wandered over Lin's body, and she was still in disbelief. She couldn't help but pinch Lin's shoulder, upon which she heaved a sigh of relief upon discovering that she wasn't hallucinating. Why are you two here? Also, what's the deal with this demonic frost star? Oh, you're talking about Little Star? Don't worry, it's my servant. Lin smiled. Gasp! Shirley and August drew another sharp intake of breath. A Tao integration intermediate stage void spirit tribe mighty figure as a servant? Bad *SS. Chapter 1778. Lin's cultivation base is about the same as ours, but he's super powerful now. Lu Qianhuan patted Lin's shoulder with a smile. He's the most bad *SS in the spirit realm. Shirley and August nodded in agreement. Thinking back, they, Lu Qianhuan, and Lin were all strong contenders for the Tao Exchange Conference of the Four Powers. Who would have thought that the gap between them and Lin would be like an insurmountable chasm? They were still battling return to void stage mighty figures, and Lin's servant could insta-kill all of their void spirit tribe enemies with a single sneeze. This gap was devastating. Thank you, Mr. Lin, for your help. August took a moment to recover before extending a grateful salute. Shirley also extended a salute upon seeing this. Lin hurriedly helped the two of them to their feet with a smile. We're all on the same side, so please don't be so polite. The spirit realm is very dangerous. What are you two doing here? Su Xiaolan also made her way over to them with a smile. Shirley and August looked at each other with concern etched on their faces. Shirley heaved a light sigh. Our master, Holy Angel Michael, was severely wounded during a battle against the heavenly human tribe, and he needs to refine a divine pill, which requires us to enter the spirit realm to find a divine rank ingredient known as the Vital Dream Divine Flower. August chimed in. The Vital Dream Divine Flower appears quite frequently in the spirit realm, and Master Michael's injuries can't be delayed any longer, so we ventured into the spirit realm. Sigh, who would have thought that we would almost die here before we could find the flower? Lin suddenly said, Wait, let me see if I can find it in my storage ring. He pulled out a pile of shiny storage rings that exuded powerful energy fluctuations. This. Shirley was given a fright. So many storage rings? Unlin nodded. This is the chaotic demon balls, this is the sword essence emperors, this is the dark soul emperors, this is the bright soul snakes, this is the god engulfing skeletons, this is embers, this is the demonic maidens, and this is the ancient Fiend celestials. After I killed them, I went on to kill other void spirit tribe powerful beings, so I didn't get a chance to look inside. Perhaps the flower you're looking for is in my storage ring. Gasp! Shirley and August's flesh crawled. The sword essence emperor, the god engulfing skeleton, and ember are all Tao integration stage super mighty figures, right? Yes, I did. Unlin Divine Lins nodded. Yes, I did. Unlin nodded. Shirley was feeling a little dizzy. All of them were extremely renowned mighty figures on the Tai Chu continent, but you've only been in the spirit realm for a few days, and you've already killed them? It could be said that she had witnessed what it meant to slaughter Tao integration stage cultivators like dogs. Just how terrifying was Enlin? It was no wonder that the demonic frost star had become his servant. If it hadn't become his servant, perhaps that small star would be among the storage rings it was counting right now. There's strength in numbers. Let's check the spoils of war, Su Xiaolan said. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone echoed in agreement. Lu Qianhuan, Lu Mingxian, Black Spirit Snake, White Spirit Snake, and Su Xiaolan also brought out the spoils of war from their storage rings. They all had at least one Tao integration stage enemy storage ring, so perhaps one of them had encountered the vital dream divine flower. Shirley and August watched as Enlin and the others sorted through their spoils of war, their heads buzzing. What the F***ck do you mean strength in numbers? How many enemies did they slay to obtain so many storage rings? Thus, a strange scene appeared. The two Light Wing clan mighty figures stood rooted to the spot and looked on blankly as everyone counted the massive amount of wealth in their storage rings. They didn't know what to do. Tell them to work harder and count the money faster. After a long while. Phew. I'm so tired. I don't have any. What about you guys? Lu Qianhuan wore an exhausted expression. Shirley and August's lips twitched. Counting money to the point of exhaustion? It was really exciting. Look at everyone's spoils of war, then look at themselves. They wanted to die. I don't have any here either. Lu Mingxian wore a disappointed expression. Black Spirit Snake, White Spirit Snake, Su Xiaolan, and Enlin were still counting. After a short while, Black Spirit Snake and White Spirit Snake had also finished counting. An elated expression suddenly appeared on Su Xiaolan's face as she pulled out a dreamy, iridescent flower from her storage ring. The flower exuded extremely powerful energy fluctuations, and living beings with weaker cultivation bases would fall into an eternal dreamland if they approached this flower. Is this the vital dream divine flower? She asked excitedly. Shirley's eyes lit up. That's right. This is it. Who would have thought that we would actually find it in our storage rings? August exclaimed in shock. He felt like his worldview was being completely reshaped. This was a divine rank material that they couldn't find no matter how hard they tried, but Enlin had casually pulled out one from his spoils of war. If the flower you're talking about is the one that Su Xiaolan pulled out, then I have three. Enlin pulled out 3 identical flowers from 3 different storage rings, and the divine rank energy fluctuations emanating from them transformed heaven and earth. Shirley and August, everyone, they almost knelt before Enlin. Here, take all of them. I'll look for more if you don't have enough. Enlin stuffed the flowers into Shirley's hands. That's enough, that's enough. Shirley was extremely flattered. Su Xiaolan also stuffed a flower into Shirley's hand with an enticing smile on her face. Holy Angel Michael is fighting for the human race, so this is a small token of our appreciation. Please don't hold back. Otherwise, you'll be treating us like strangers. Shirley and August accepted the vital dream divine flowers and expressed their gratitude to everyone again. The spirit realm is too dangerous, so we'll be taking our leave now. August bade farewell. And Lin, Xiaolan, and everyone else, remember to come visit the holy paradise when you have time. Shirley placed her finger on her cherry lips, then tossed it to the crowd and blew a kiss as she spoke with a smile. All right, be careful on your way back. And Lin bade farewell with a smile. After bidding farewell to Shirley and August, everyone continued their journey of hunting void spirit tribe powerful beings. And Lin was now the leader of the spirit realm, and he left no one alive in his wake. He was like the cleansing machine of the spirit realm, and all of the void spirit tribe powerful beings trembled in fear at the mere mention of his name. The heaven and earth grieving phenomenon was already enough to strike fear into the hearts of all living beings. Now that a god of slaughter had appeared, it could be said that this was the worst experience in history. Many void spirit tribe living beings had already returned home, not daring to linger in the spirit realm. However, some mighty figures were still unwilling to give up. This was because the core region of the spirit realm had been opened this time, and they still wanted to obtain the spirit patriarch's inheritance. Thus, they were desperately searching for the place where the spirit patriarch had fallen. It could be said that the void spirit tribe had really narrowed their path with this kind of hope. What awaited them in the future was only despair with no way out. And Lin and the others slaughtered for another 2 days before finally arriving at a vast and majestic ruins. Aside from that, there was also a particularly eye-catching being standing majestically outside the gate. The Battling Buddha. Chapter 1779. On the 12th day of Monkey Sun's battle, there was still no void spirit tribe powerful being that could fight. He had been keeping the void spirit tribe powerful beings at bay for a very long time. Ever since a Tao integration intermediate stage super mighty figure had been crippled by him, no one dared to challenge him anymore. Occasionally, there would be living beings who were confident in their concealment techniques or speed mystic techniques, and they would try to bypass him and enter the ruins behind. All of these confident living beings were naturally annihilated by his staff. Without exception, the monkey leaned against his golden-banded staff and picked at his ears as he looked at the cowering void spirit tribe powerful beings in the distance with a bored expression. How boring! How strange! Void spirit tribe powerful beings shouldn't be this weak. Why are they all trash? The void spirit tribe powerful beings in the distance were seething with rage upon hearing this, but they didn't pounce on him. That's right, they were all very calm. All of them who weren't calm and had pounced on him had died. All that was left was to remain calm. The Battling Buddha had displayed his invincible power, but they still didn't want to leave this place. The ruins before them were extremely rare, and if they missed this opportunity, they would never get another one. They were also waiting for the Void Spirit Tribe Tao Integration Pinnacle Stage super mighty figures to arrive, so that they could join forces and attack the Battling Buddha. The Battling Buddha was also quite perplexed. Strange, why aren't any Tao Integration Pinnacle Stage super mighty figures here? Where did they all go? Also, the heaven and earth morning just then was quite massive, but it didn't seem like the aura of a Void Spirit Tribe super mighty figure had fallen. Instead, it felt like the aura of a true demon tribe cultivator. How strange! With this in mind, the monkey suddenly plucked a handful of monkey fur from his body, which transformed into countless powerful clones that pounced toward the Void Spirit Tribe powerful beings in the distance. Come on, let's fight. Don't run. Stop right there. A series of Return to Void stage Battling Buddha pounced toward the Void Spirit Tribe powerful beings. All of the Void Spirit Tribe powerful beings in the distance were instantly plunged into a state of panic and anguish. His main body guarded the gate while his doppelgangers took care of the small fry. This had become the norm for the Battling Buddha during these past few days. Phew. Boring, I'm so bored. The Battling Buddha leaned against the golden-banded staff with a bored expression, and he began to pick his ears and scratch his fur to pass the time. Ms. Lin, Ms. Su Xiaolan, Ms. Black Spirit Snake, Ms. White Spirit Snake, where are all of you? How come I don't see any of you? Didn't you say you were going to gather together? The battling Buddha was very depressed. He wanted to leave this place and find his teammates, but the ruins were right here, so he couldn't just abandon them. If he were to leave, the Void Spirit tribe would take advantage of this opportunity to strike. He couldn't let these maniacs get away with this. Just as the monkey was stuck between a rock and a hard place, a powerful aura suddenly approached from afar. The other party was especially eye-catching because it was an incomparably huge planet. It's the demonic frost star. This is great, the demonic frost star is here. With the help of the demonic frost star and the Soul Lotus Emperor, we can even put up a fight against the battling Buddha. All of the Void Spirit tribe powerful beings discussed spiritedly among themselves with excitement and insanity on their faces. They had clearly seen a glimmer of hope. The battling Buddha was also itching for a fight, and he gripped his staff tightly with an excited smile on his face. I'm finally going to have an enjoyable battle. The demonic frost star arrived at the place where all of the Void Spirit tribe powerful beings were gathered, and it couldn't help but feel a sense of sorrow upon hearing the cheers. Sorry, brother, it began to descend. Boom. Heaven and earth tremored violently, and the earth caved in from its massive body. The demonic frost star successfully landed, and over 20 soul formation stage powerful beings and a return to void stage powerful being were crushed along with it. All of the Void Spirit tribe powerful beings fled for their lives while cursing loudly. The battling Buddha was dumbstruck upon seeing this. Immediately afterward, one powerful figure after another flew out from the tip of the planet. Lin, Su Xiaolan, Lu Qianhuan, Lu Mingxian, White Spirit Snake, and Black Spirit Snake had all transformed into top-notch killing machines, and they charged into the Void Spirit tribe powerful beings like tigers pouncing on a flock of sheep, inflicting blood-curdling cries of despair upon their enemies. They had concealed their auras and used the demonic frost star's Void Spirit tribe aura to disguise themselves as allies, then sneak up on their enemies before launching a surprise attack. They had perfected this tactic over the past few days. No enemy was able to escape from this tactic. The auras unleashed by the 6 top-notch powerful beings at the same time made it difficult for the Void Spirit tribe powerful beings to even breathe, let alone run away. All of them were quickly slaughtered. The Soul Lotus Emperor was the only Tao integration stage super mighty figure present, and he immediately sacrificed his own divine tool to unleash his most powerful heavenly lotus movement technique. Only then was he able to escape from Lin and the others. In less than 15 minutes, all of the Void Spirit tribe powerful beings surrounding the ruins had been slain. Aside from the Soul Lotus Emperor, over 1,000 Void Spirit tribe powerful beings had perished. Phew! Done. That's a lot of treasures. Lin held onto a storage ring with a smile on his face. I'm rich. I'm rich now. A vibrant smile appeared on Lu Qianhuan's face as she sipped her soup. Lu Mingxian wore a cold expression. As a proud man, he was very disdainful of people who bullied the weak. Hence, he only targeted return to void stage mighty figures. Now that he had obtained 2 return to void stage storage rings, he was ecstatic. After picking up the treasures, everyone made their way over to the battling Buddha with elation on their faces. The battling Buddha was still completely dumbstruck, and he had yet to come to his senses. Originally, they were still in a stalemate. Suddenly, a ball fell from the sky, and a few unreasonably strong people jumped out from it. Then, they unreasonably wiped out all the enemy troop. This feeling made him feel like he was in an unrealistic dream. Was this something a human could do? This was way too bad *SS. Hi. Brother Sun, I've finally found you. Lin quickly made his way over and gave Sun Wukong a big hug. So you were here. We've been looking for you for a long time. Everyone blushed upon hearing this. The battling Buddha finally came to his senses, and he murmured to himself, "Brother Unlin. Sigh, so you guys have already met up. I'm the only one who hasn't met up with you guys. Not only that, but I've even found my new friends, but I still haven't met up with you guys." The monkey was a little dejected as he spoke. They were having a lot of fun outside, but he was waiting here like an idiot. Ahem. Don't worry about the details. Brother Sun, let me introduce you. This beautiful sword immortal is the pavilion lord of our 4-9 immortal sex sword pavilion, Lu Qianhuan. That blue planet is my servant, Little Star. And this man is Lu Mingxian. The veins on Lu Mingxuan's forehead bulged. What a perfunctory introduction. Sun Wukong greeted everyone one by one. He was a very warm and friendly person, so he was very easy to get along with. Say, why have you been waiting here this entire time, Brother Sun? Unlin asked. Sun Wukong's expression finally lit up at the mention of this. The ruins behind me are some good stuff, and I'm just waiting to go in with you guys. Chapter 1780. Unlin turned toward the ruins behind the battling Buddha. The ruins were enshrouded in a vast expanse of clouds and mist, and it was enshrouded by an extremely powerful restriction. From the outside, one could only see an extremely massive shadow within the clouds and mist, with no end in sight. The only thing that could be seen was the extremely eye-catching gate of light. The restriction had already transcended beyond the Tao integration stage, and it was exactly because of this that the gate of light behind the battling Buddha was the only way to enter the ruins. I'm guessing that this is the place where the spirit patriarch is buried. The battling Buddha spoke with excitement. Everyone's expressions became a little peculiar upon hearing this. What is it? The battling Buddha could tell that everyone's expressions were a little peculiar. I've actually already taken the Spirit Patriarch Palace, Unlin replied. The battling Buddha. Then this ruins must be quite powerful. The battling Buddha forced a smile onto his face. All right, let's go in and have a look. Unlin nodded. Everyone entered the gate of light. Little Xing Xing stood guard at the gate and observed what was happening outside. Their field of vision changed. A strange place appeared before everyone's eyes. There was a vibrant sun in the sky, as well as a blue sky and white clouds. There were undulating grasslands on the ground, and the grass was extremely lush and lush. There were also flowers of different colors growing on the grass, and a light breeze blew past as the fragrance of nature wafted toward them. Everyone faltered upon seeing this, and they felt as if they had transmigrated. The style of this place was completely unlike the style of a ruin. Unlin unleashed his god of creation stage divine sense to survey his surroundings, upon which he discovered that everything around him was real. Even the sky and the sun were real. This is a small world, Unlin said. Everyone came to a sudden realization. So that gate was the gate to another world? Right at this moment, a little white rabbit hopped over from afar. It was able to jump several kilometers with each hop, so it was clearly no ordinary rabbit. Boom! The earth tremored violently. The little white rabbit crashed heavily to the ground before looking down at Unlin and the others with its pink eyes. Welcome to the Spirit Tribe Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo's small world. I am your tour guide, Bite You to Death Rabbit. How can I help you? Bite You to Death Rabbit? Lu Qianhuan almost burst into laughter upon hearing this. She repeated the name with a smile on her face. This name sounded quite interesting. Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo of the Spirit Tribe? What's that? The battling Buddha was also perplexed. Was there such a powerful being in the Void Spirit Tribe? Unlin's heart jolted upon hearing this. He recalled the Spirit Tribe monarch that he had seen on the scroll. Could it be that this was Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo? Swish, swish, swish. The little white rabbit inserted its claws into its fluffy belly and instantly pulled out two pure white swords. It narrowed its eyes and said, "If you don't know anything, why did they come in?" "We came in to look for something," Unlin said honestly. "What are you looking for?" Little White Rabbit asked warily. "Find something valuable," Unlin said, and take it all away. The little white rabbit. Everyone. F***ck. Wasn't this a robbery? You're robbing the small world of heavenly monarch Bei Luo? The little white rabbit instantly exploded with rage as she stabbed her swords toward Enlin. Enlin caught the blade with his bare hand. Pa, pa. He shattered the little white rabbit's swords with 2 slaps. Out. The little white rabbit was thrown backwards by the huge force of the recoil. It flipped a few times before it finally stopped falling. We're here to take something, so don't spout nonsense. Enlin chided, but he didn't kill the rabbit. Instead, he rose into the air atop his brick and flew into the distance. Everyone else also followed along behind him. Realm Guardians, what are you waiting for? Quickly kill these bandits. Rabbit, who was holding the broken sword, shouted in exasperation. Rumble. The earth suddenly began to tremor. 4 powerful soul bodies suddenly emerged from the grasslands before pouncing toward Enlin. Ha ha! There's delicious food. Ignorant B*****stards. How dare you force your way into Heavenly Monarch Bei Luo's restricted area? I, the Tyrant Dragon Monarch, will tear you to shreds. A bunch of idiots. Die. Weaklings should slumber underground. The soul bodies with twisted, sinister appearances pounced toward Enlin and the others in a frenzy. Enlin's eyes suddenly turned golden, and an indescribable might suddenly proliferated throughout heaven and earth. Great divine might technique. The golden ripples enveloped the 4 spirits, causing them to freeze in place. Then, as if they had seen an existence that they couldn't afford to provoke, their expressions became extremely horrified and sluggish. In the end, all of them fell to the ground and began to tremble. Spare us! Spare us, Heavenly God! I was wrong, I really was wrong. All of the soul bodies wept bitter tears as they begged for their lives. The little white rabbit was dumbstruck upon seeing this, and she yelled, You're the guardian deities of this small world. Don't let me down. None of the soul bodies listened to the little white rabbit, and they continued to beg for their lives. Even after Enlin and the others had flown away from this world, they still hadn't come to their senses, and were still lying on the ground. The little white rabbit's eyes were bloodshot with rage. Useless trash. All of you are useless trash. Enlin also felt like they were quite useless. At least they set up a restriction that transcends beyond the Tao integration stage. Why are the guardian deities so weak? The battling Buddha's expression was a little awkward. Perhaps this world prefers peace and harmony? Perhaps that's why they set up some docile and adorable little animals as their guardian deities? Those are the soul bodies that threaten to eat humans, and you call them docile and adorable little animals? Enlin was astonished. Sun Wukong scratched his head. They're quite cute when they beg for their lives. Enlin, this small world wasn't very large. It was only about 1/5 the size of the Hua nation. Enlin and the others quickly flew around in a circle in the sky. Half of the world was covered in grasslands, while the other half was covered in forest. There were also some rivers, lakes, and hills. There weren't many types of animals. Most of them were rabbits, goats, squirrels, kangaroos, and so on. The most ferocious animal was a type of unicorn, and its power level was around that of a second-stage Tao body. So, what are we doing here? Enlin's expression darkened after flying around this small world. Su Xiaolan closed her eyes and took a deep breath of the fresh air with a contented expression. Let's just treat this as a vacation. Sister Xiaolan sure has a good attitude. Lu Qianhuan grinned. Black Spirit Snake raised the massive sword in her hand. How about we slice this world in half and see if there's anything good inside? No. If we do that, we could suffer backlash from the small world, and the power of the God of Creation stage could directly attack us. White Spirit Snake immediately tried to dissuade them. Enlin had already given up on searching for treasures. He treated this as a vacation with Su Xiaolan. They ran around on the grasslands, basking in the sun and blue sky. They caught a few super adorable little rabbits before cooking spicy rabbit cubes in a frying pan,